Mike Sadler here with Osram, representing the Encelium brand lighting control system here at the University of Tampa GHS building. Well, today we'll be dealing with the lighting controls training, and then we'll be doing some hands-on training in the actual building, programming in some modules. So join me today and we'll make this a worthwhile experience. Good morning, gentlemen. So Mike here with Osram. I'm about to give you a demo of the Encelium lighting control system. Before I get into the actual software, I want to touch a little bit on the hardware so you guys understand what's here, the whole architecture, the topology, how it all works. And then we can get into the software, which comprises of the configuration system, in which you know how to configure, create zones, manage the site, pull information from analysis, energy purposes, energy reading, checking occupancy sensors to see if they're turned on or off, if they're picking up activity, picking up motion, how you adjust timeouts. And we can make it interactive, so if you can stop me in between and ask questions. If you don't want to wait till the end for you to forget it, you can just ask me and we can just bounce questions and answers off each other, right? We'll get through that way. So here goes. So let's start with a couple of components that we have here. So the first component I want to talk about is the system support unit. And the system support unit, we call the SSU. This is a physical hardware device that is used to house the database. So the database is what we're using now. Polaris is the control system from database we use to control the system. It's housed on the server. So when we're logging in right now, we're pulling the information from this guy here, the SSU. System support unit, right? So this is the front end that we'll use to pull information from, right? If you have stuff like backnet integration, building automations, right, in which they use occupancy status to control the VAV systems and whatnot, it's pulled from this system, right, via Ethernet, right? So as long as you're on the network, you can pull the information from here and you can trigger on the VAV system using the occupancy sensors. Some people use the status of the zones to turn that on also. If you have an AV system, you can also integrate to the AV system from this box. So this box is kind of like a very important part. It's a physical box, but we also have it in a software which is called a virtual SSU, in which you just installing the software on your system, and it acts just the same way. So looking in this little architecture right here, this copper box here is what this system is, an SSU, a system support unit. And again, so if somebody wants to log into the system remotely, they log in through here. It's used to integrate third-party stuff like AV systems and building automation controls. The backnet is done through this guy here. And for you to manage your site day to day, it's done from here, which is the system support unit, right? Important to know that SSU has two NIC ports. We call it network interface cards at the back. So in this case, one of NIC cards here is tied to a local system in which the ECUs are connected to the system on a 172 local network. You don't need to worry about what that means for now, but it's a local network that connects the SSU and the ECUs all together, right? And then the second port here of the server is what's tied into your building network. So the 10, what's that IP? The 10.151.27.100, it's on the second port here. So this is connected into your LAN, and that's how you communicate to get the system up and going, right? So basic system, and also it stores a backup of the site. So every morning it takes a snapshot of the whole site and it stores it on the actual server, and it saves up to the last 30 days. So once it comes to the 31st day, the first day gets deleted. So it always has the most recent 30 days of backup, right? And just taking a snapshot of the site, right? Question?
Yeah, so is the SSU the unit if they wanted to put a local monitor and keyboard in the building?
Correct.
Is this the unit they would hook it up to?
Exactly. So the SSU, you connect your keyboard, monitor, and mouse directly to the SSU, and then you can go straight in right there directly.
Otherwise, port.
So on this SSU, they have on the actual computer there is a the RGA port, like just like you plug into your laptop on your desktop. You plug in the monitor in.
RJ45.
Yeah, no, not RJ45. RGA. It's like that port here that uses for monitors, to connect monitors, right? And then your US.
It's a pins.
Exactly, right. And then your USB will plug into the USB ports. Like right here on the front, you can't see it. The ports on the front and ports on the back side is not shown here, but it's there. Like a regular desktop. Could be like an actual desktop computer. Same thing. This is
Probably a 9 or 11.
yeah. Yeah, but this is just rack. This is rack mounted, but it's the same as any desktop. You plug directly in, and then you enter your turn on the computer, log in, and you're in, right? So that's the SSU. We'll come back to them at the end. The next important device here is the energy control unit, right? Also called the ECU. So the ECU is kind of the brains of the operation, right? So the ECU is what accepts the commands, processes the commands, and executes the instructions. So if you walk into a room, an occupant sensor sees you, it sends a signal back to the ECU saying, hey, this room got occupied. The ECU figures out what room is it, right? And it figures out what room is it based on the program. So the program, you can link sensors to rooms, switches to rooms, so that all is done into the ECU. The ECU has all that in its memory, right? And it processes that information and sends a command back to say, hey, room 101, turn on. This is room 101, right? So all this, the information, the ECU is a very important device, right? To let you know, the site can run without an SSU. You can set up for the SSU, I can take the SSU home with me, and the site will still run because everything is stored in the ECU, right? It doesn't matter if you want to log in, to make changes and whatnot, then you need the SSU. But otherwise, everything runs from the ECU, right? The ECU has 8 ports. I'll give you some stuff right here before I get into it. So it has 8 ports, and each port is capable of handling 100 devices. So let me take a second right here. So let me go down right here to the ports so you can see. So there's 8 ports here, channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So up top here it says each port is capable of handling 100 devices, right? That should be taken with a grain of salt, right? Because what happened is that depending on what devices you have on that channel, that node count falls, right? If you have like 100 luminaire control modules that just turn lights off and on, you're fine, right? Once you start loading occupancy sensors on that channel, that number is gonna drop significantly because the occupancy sensors, they pull more current, right, than the current that's needed to open a contact and close it for a light module, right? So the more sensors you have on a channel, the less that 100 number comes by. So that number is just a nameplate number for I say modules to turn lights off and on, right? So people all get it confused, like, hey, you say you can do 100 devices, right? Why am I seeing 50 devices on my channel, right? It's based on the current draw, and the aux sensor is what for the current draw. One second here, I got a question for you.
What happens when the ECU fails?
So what happens when the ECU fails? So the ECU is powering the whole channel, right? When it fails, all the devices, they go normally closed. So once they go normally closed, it allows the voltage to run through the contact and energize the ballast or the driver, and lights come straight full on. So lights will be bright, right? And there's be buttons on the wall, you can't do anything with them because there's no control.
Go out.
All right, so let's recap. The question asked before was what happens when the ECU loses power, right? So when the ECU loses power, all the devices downstream, they fail close, right? So, and to explain that question, explain that a little better, if you look here, for example, it's a simple topology. So channel 1, it goes into an LCM, and I get to what this means later on, a luminaire control module. So it goes in through one side, out to the next side, into the next device, out, right? So it goes all the way down. They're daisy chained, right? So if the ECU here loses power by any means, all of these modules on top, they fail close, allowing the voltage in case, for light modules, the voltage runs straight through the modules and turn the lights on, and you can't do anything, you can't control it.
All right, the question I had, you said 100 devices for basic luminaires. What if we were doing just straight aux sensors? I know it doesn't make sense, but if you were just doing straight aux sensors, does that cut that in half?
Okay, so the question, I'm just repeating this. So the question is, what the notes here said there's 100 devices per node, right? But what happens if we're just using occupant sensors in this case? What would that number be, right? So the guys that work in the office, the application guys, they use a voltage calculator device, right? And pretty much an Excel spreadsheet, and it has formulas in the back of it. And what happened is that every device that we have, they have a certain current draw to it, right? So for example, if they put in they put in, say number one, they put in a 30 milliamp aux sensor, that's one, right? You put in another 30 amp milli, that's 60 amps, 60 milliamps. So it keeps adding up, right? And I believe each port I believe each port is capable of handling, I'm thinking 750 milliamps, I'm not sure, right? So it splits it, right? 1.5 amp, I believe, is the rating for this device, and split between channels. So depending on how much you're pulling, that will determine the number of devices per channel, right? So if you have high current drawn sensors, that number will be smaller. The less current that sensor draws, the more you can get on that channel, pretty much.
I was just trying to use it as a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So 100 would be my max with no aux.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
I had all aux, if we're at 20.
20,
You know, let's
30,
say.
half, 50, probably, yeah, right?
So a third, just to try to figure out
Exactly.
rule of thumb. So
Yep.
if we're using aux sensors and luminaires, we're probably somewhere about the 60 to 70% mark.
Yeah, so let me give you a rule of thumb also. Like, for example, if on a certain channel, when you start seeing, say, occupancy sensors, instead of dual tech sensor, because there's two types of sensors. There's a PIR, it's a passive infrared, and it's a dual tech, which uses PIR and ultrasonic, right? The PIR pulls less current, right? Because it's just using the heat, the body motions, right, to go off and on. But the ultrasonic using two technologies, so therefore that's pulling more current. So the more ultrasonic device, the more dual tech devices you have, the less you can have on a channel. Make sense?
And correct me if I'm wrong, they're all dual technology, correct?
I think they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And dual technology, those ones are better. It has its draw. It's half and half, and the reason why. So it's better because it's more precise, right? It can pick you up more, and it won't be having light shutting off on you. You gotta be moving around as much as the PIRs. However, there are cases in which those ultrasonic are by like ear ducts and ear vents, and the ears blowing on them and whatnot, and they think that somebody's still in the room, and they keep the lights on, right? So it's a trade-off. Sometimes you got to turn the sensitivity down so that it doesn't think somebody's in the room and keeps the lights on. So it's a trade-off, right? So we'll get to that. Yep. So the energy control unit, that's the guy right here, and you can have multiple energy control units per site. So you have one SSU, one server. No matter how big the site is, there's one server you can need, right? If you want everything integrated, one server, and you can have multiple ECUs. So the ECU numbers depend on how big the job is and how many devices you need to cover, then the ECU number will increase. So in this example right here, you see an ECU here and an ECU here, or in this example over here, you see an ECU here on the first floor. On the second floor here, you see another ECU here that's going to devices, right? So it depends on how many devices you have, then determine the amount of ECUs you have.
Are the ECUs plug and play, or do they have to be mapped out?
They have to be mapped. So what happens? So the question is, are the ECUs plug and play, or do they have to be mapped, right? So the ECUs, they have to be mapped. So what happens is that the ECU doesn't do anything without the devices being plugged into them, right? Once the device gets plugged into it, from the software, the device will pop up from the ECU. The ECU has the 8 channel. Once you go in, you see it later on, but once we go into the channels, you see the numbers, right? So if you pull a device in, it pops up in the software, right? And you have to map or program that device for it to actually work, right?
Okay, one more follow-up question. Can the ECUs be shipped to us pre-mapped, or would that have to be done on-site?
It has to be done on-site, because what happens is that the device that you're plugging in, you're plugging in on-site here. So, and they have a special ID, a reference address for each device. They're unique, right? So it has to be done on-site, in essence, yes.
Which would come to the backup. We run a backup, you know, I'm not sure exactly how many ECUs we have.
I want to say there's one per floor, but.
Or I think it's one every other floor. I think one takes care of every 2
Might
floors.
be right.
I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. So there should be 3 ECUs.
I believe so.
So if we back that up, let's say we have an ECU fail closes, we get another one sent, we should be able to take our backup
And
plug
restore
in and restore
Yep.
ECU 2.
Yep. So the question is how could we, if we have, so for example, an ECU that failed, right? Could we ship a new ECU and back up the original site onto that new ECU? Yes, because the ECUs, they have again, remember the database is a snapshot. Remember I said earlier the server has a snapshot and it says the most 30 days devices. In that snapshot, it has every information you need to recreate an ECU. So I can have that snapshot, take with me, I have an ECU at my house, and I can restore it on an ECU at my house, and an ECU will be, in a sense, mimicking the one that you have right here. Right? The only difference is that it doesn't have the end devices to plug into it for it to actually work the way it is. But if I brought it from my home and brought it here and plug it in, it will work just the same. Right?
So you're using the SSU to help program a new ECU.
Yeah.
Using the backup information from the SSU to program the new one.
Yep, exactly. So the question is, you're using the SSU's capability of creating a snapshot or a backup, right, to recreate ECUs if you need it, right? And that's correct. And that's the reason why after we finish a site, we take a snapshot or a backup. We bring that into the office and we put it on our server. So we have the, over time you guys can make changes and whatnot, but we have the final backup that we left with site. So if anything happens, we can restore it, right? And then while we have that backup, you making changes throughout your day, your server is saved in the most 30 days. So in case there's anything, we can probably ask you, could you send me a snapshot, the last one that you have? And then we can use that one to recreate back your site. So in essence, you don't lose anything.
So how often would we do a backup, even though we have a 30-day snapshot? How often should we, maybe take a snapshot to do like a USB separate, as far as and now I got a separate hard copy.
Okay, so the question is about pretty much data management somewhat, right? Or yeah, so it's up to you, because what happens is that it stores the most 30 days. So for example, if anything should happen, say today, right? Then you have yesterday's backup in which you have a complete site, right? So we can pull that one and use that one, right? We can put that one off and bring it to an external site. So you can say, okay, on this day, this backup I had. So you had it. So even though over time it's going to get deleted from the server as the months go by, you can have your own personal record of this is the backup then, this is then, this is then. So if there's anything that happens, they can pull the logs from the same server and see, okay, and this time something weird happened here, right? But it may be gone from the actual server, but you already took a backup of that from before. So you can go to the closest one to that you have and then pull it from there and kind of see what happened between X time and Y time that caused an issue, right? So just personal data management if you want to, but at the end of the day, it's stored 30 days. If you don't want to take that measure, it's stored 30 days and you can use the latest one afterwards, okay? All right, so just mention the two important main devices here, the SSU server, the system support unit, and the energy control unit, right, the ECU. Now, again, I mentioned the ECU has 8 ports at the back, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So let me go into a little at the end devices that are plugged into this device, right? So first of all is a cable that we call our Green Bus 2 cable, right? It's pretty much a 2-wire cable, and it has a special end connector at the end of it. And pretty much this 2-wire cable is what's used to daisy chain devices to devices, right? So if you look at the end of this cable here, it's the same input that goes into every device we have. So the ECU, the back, these connection points here, that connector fits snug right into that portion, right? So, and then the other end of this cable will go into your next device. For example, if my next device is a luminaire control module, for example, and a luminaire control module, I would call it LCM, is a device that allows a fixture to be switched and dimmed. 0 to 10 dimming is what this device is, right? So, and if I can scroll down a little bit, you'll see the connection points right here. So there's two ports, and it's the same port that's used on the end of these cables, right? And it doesn't matter what side you plug it into. You can plug it into left side, right side, as long as you go from one into one, out to the next, into one, out to the next. So like a little, exactly, precisely. And in series circuits like that, you know that once you go, like say halfway and disconnect it, everything downstream is no communication, it won't work. Everything from that point back to the ECU will work fine, right? And that's somewhat used for troubleshooting methods also, right? So you something is happening downstream, you can just physically look at the switches. Is it light on the switches? That means it has power. You go to a switch, you don't light on the switch, something's happening right there, right? You go in, cable is plugged out. Plug cable back in, a couple seconds, it's all working again, right? And the program can show you that also as to narrow your search. We can show you that later on, how you narrow your search using the program, right? So we call this the green bus 2 cable, right? And again, in this drawing right here, it's depicted by this green cable. So it leaves one on the port of the ECU. It plugs into an LCM, a luminaire control module, which is this guy here, right? And again, the luminaire control module has 2 black wires here. One, and it doesn't matter which one, but one of them is used for line voltage, and the other one is going straight to the ballast, right? And in between these black wires, in between them is a normally closed contact. And that's a contact that opens and closes that allows lights to go off and on, right? So contacts closed, that means voltage is running from the one black wire to the contact, to the next black wire, to your driver or your ballast. Lights on, right? And if the contact is open, can't go through it, lights are off. And that's pretty much what's happening. Lights on or off, contact.
And just for the record, those are non-polarized.
Say it again?
Non-polarized.
What?
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Just for the record.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, for the record, it's not polarized. So the 2 black wires are not polarized. Either one, as long as one is line voltage, the other one's to the load, right? And that's pretty much it, right? And then the violet and the gray, those are the dimming. So those go directly to the dimming ballast. You can't miss that.
Standard 0.
Exactly.
volt.
Yep, gray to gray, violet to violet, and that's what happens, right? So the other guy here is a sensor interface module, a SIM. So we call it a SIM, S-I-M. And this SIM is used to interface sensors. For example, a photo sensor or an occupancy sensor, right? Or what can I say? A partition wall sensor. Sensors in generally are fire alarms, right? Use this guy here, right? And in essence, what this does is allow you to connect your devices directly to it. For example, an occupancy sensor could have the same colors. It has a red for the power, right? The blue for the signal return, and the black for the neutral. And so you connect them directly together to the sensor. Right? Let me see if there's one here. Actually, it's showing the mounting here. It's not actually here, but you connect them directly to the sensor, and then you connect the same ports back to your green bus cable from one device to the next, right? So if you look here on this little diagram here, all these sensors here, the SIM is on a photo sensor here, and the SIM is on an occupancy sensor. And then they're all connected to that green cable. That green bus cable is running through device to devices, right? And the SIM, it makes that, once you wink it, it makes a little beep sound. That's when you're doing the programming aspect of it. But this device here is just used to interface SIMs, right? And it makes sense afterwards, but I just wanted for you to see the actual hardware first, right? The next one here is an area lighting controller, all right? And the area lighting controller is pretty much an LCM, a luminaire control module, but it's rated for 20 amps, right? So the LCM I think is like 4.5 amps is what it uses, but the ALCs or the area lighting controller uses a 20 amp circuit. So this can pretty much switch a longer, like 30 can dim 30 ballasts. I think it can dim and switch. Or a 20 amp circuit up to 30 ballasts can be dimmed on this one device. Versus the LCM, you can only do a maximum of 1 or 2 fixtures on this LCM, right? And it's because of the inrush, you don't want the inrush going back to the device. So they designed this to have a single or 2 ballasts controlled by the LCM, but the area lighting control a whole 20 amp circuit. So you can have like a whole corridor on this device here, a whole room on that one device that switches everything off and on, right? And it's the same color codes for as the LCM. 2 black wires, not polarized, doesn't matter. One is line voltage, the other one is right here actually. So power feed line voltage is one right here, and the other one goes to the device. It doesn't matter which one you use. And then the dimming wires here also, right? So think of this as just in the LCM, just can handle more load, right? Pretty much. All right, so this here is the setup I wanted to show you real quick so you can see everything, how it ties in. So typical Encellium network, right? So for example, right here, this here is the SSU. And in this case, the SSU uses one of the network interface cards and plug it into an Ethernet switch, right? And the Ethernet switch is like a hub. It's just linking the SSU to all the other devices, right? And this Ethernet cable is coming here and connecting to this ECU. If you have more ECUs, you connect accordingly up this ladder and connect them in and out, right? So now you look at, this is picking off one channel from the ECU, and it goes into a LCM here for a fixture, in and out, then goes to an ALC that controls multiple fixtures, in and out, then goes to the next ALC, multiple fixtures, into a phase cut dimming module, and this device is used like forward and reverse phase dimming, right, for line voltage dimming. The phase cut dimming module is what this guy is, incandescent fixtures, right? And it goes in and out into the SIM, sensor interface module for the photo sensor. Then it goes into a switch, in and out from a switch, into a next SIM module, and that's how it keeps going from device to device, right? So again, as I was saying, if I come down, if I come here, for example, and I should, I should cut, let me see, this is it. Oh, does it work? No, I'm trying to cut this. Anyway, if I should cut or pull this cable out from right here, for example, right? Everything from this PCDM onward down here will become inactive. It won't work. But everything from this device all the way back down to the ECU will work because the power from the ECU is feeding everything up to that point, right? And in the software, it brings you down to the close proximity as to where the issue is happening, because in the software, all these devices are color coded per channel. So one channel is gold, the other channel is green, blue, red, purple, right? So it's different channels. So based on what happened, you can see some devices will have an X on them. That means that they are disconnected going down the side. Anything that's no X, that means they're upstream, they're downstream to the ECU, and that's fine. And the software makes a lot more sense once you see what's happening in the software, right? So in a nutshell, what else I have here? Okay, switches. So there are a couple of switches that they have here. Wall switches, they have a 2-button wall switch, right? This is used for on-off, and then if you press and hold, you can dim with those switches. So the top button is the on. There's a little one here. The top, you press it one time, it turns the room on. Press at the bottom, it turns the room off. If you press it and you hold the top, it dims it up. If you release it, it stops. If you press and hold the bottom, it dims it down. You let it go, it stops for a dimming level, right? And this is the two-button controller. And then this one here is a three-zone controller, right? So this, in its typical sense, you can control 3 different zones. So like button 1 can control, for example, the north side of a corridor, and the middle button control the middle part of the corridor, and the button 3 controls the south part of the corridor, right? And in its typical sense, I can give you more information on it, but that's how it does typically, right? And then a scene controller, in this device you can use to recall scenes, so you can set different light levels. For example, how the room is right now, with these lights off on the front, you can set it as a scene, and you can press a button on the switch, and it brings that automatically for you, adjusts the different scene levels, right? So you can have presentation mode, movie mode, party mode. You can set different light levels based on the system you want, and you can use the scene button here to recall that scene that you want, in a sense. But I should make note that all these buttons are configurable, which means that the program, again, because the program is very powerful. In the program, I can have these buttons do whatever I want them to do. So I can have this button here, even though there's an off-on button, I can have this button recalling the scene for me, right? I can get really complex if I wanted to. So in case, for example, if they shipped a wrong button to site, right? And I'm on site, and I need to get this site turned over, and there's no time for them to ship a new button here before I leave, right? I can turn a button into the function that you want it to work. In that sense, that makes sense. Right?
For the most part on this building, the GHS building, the classrooms have a 6-scene push button.
Okay.
So whatever that's worth.
Yep. So the 16 push button is what you guys have here, and the 16 is just 6 zone, right?
Yes.
The 6 zone. So 6 zone is in essence the 3-zone times 2, right? So the buttons are a bit smaller, so half. So cut these buttons in half, and then that's how you get the six buttons, and then you can turn those buttons to do whatever you want. You can have them recall scenes, you can have them on off, whatever. You can configure in the system, in a sense, right? And these are connected. So with the green bus cable, in this case, this connector is taken off. So there's a strip that ends the cable alone. The bare wire, stranded cable, is plugged directly into the back of these switches. So in on one side, out one side, and that's how you put it in the daisy chain, right? That's how you control those buttons. question?
Back to the green bus cable, you were saying the system will kind of tell us in between which two devices we might have an issue with our cable. Is it recommended that we can just splice the cable, or is it recommended that we replace the entire run of cable?
No, so what happens, once it gives you the issue, it gives you in the vicinity. Oh, so the question is, what happens with the cable? So if the green bus cable were disconnected, how would you kind of pick up where the vicinity of what the issue is, right? So the cables themselves, how it's done from the factory, they give the guys, say, an area, right? And they have devices in that area. And they say, okay, run the cable as how you see fit. We had two methods first. In the beginning, let me give you a little bit of history. So beginning, we had a method in which we did point-to-point controls, right? So we would have a module here, there, and then we'll say, okay, connect from this module to that module, to that module, to that module, right? And we hope that the installers would follow that train and follow from here to here to here to here, right? So if in the event that a break happened in the channel, you will know directly. If it's a break here, you know that exactly the next device is this one right here, right? However, in actuality, when you're on site, you cannot necessarily do that. You may, on site, the guys on the computers, they're just seeing point from here to here to here, right? But in the field, there may be a ductwork in the way. You can't go there, you gotta go around somewhere else, right? By going somewhere else, you hit something else, right? So the new design that we have is called a zonal design, in which we give you like an area, like say 5-6 rooms with devices everywhere. So, okay, just run your cables as all you see fit, right? So you can go from here to here, here or here, or you can go from here back here, so we don't know. So when you see devices are offline, you see like a patch of them that are okay, that has no X's, and you see some of them with X's. So it gives you an idea, a range as to where the issue is. Now, it's up to you now to go into the field, and you will see. So you walk and you see like a switch, for example, right? There'll be a light on the switch. You see a light? Good, it's power on it, right? No light, that means there's a break somewhere that's allowing it not to, you know? You walk and you see an aux sensor. You see a little red light flashing, right? There's power. You see no light flashing, there's no power. So that kind of gives you from room to room. You go from this room, you see everything working fine. Next room, there's no power. Then there's a break somewhere in between there from this room to this room. So you pop the tire, look, oh, cable's plugged out. Cable got snipped, right? If the cable got snipped, you can splice them together. Wire nut and whatnot, right? But you don't want to make sure it doesn't touch anything metallic, because obviously that's going to short it out, right? So, and that's how we kind of make the T connections also. So T connections, as you go, you don't necessarily have to go from one next. You can break off and go T's, right? But the T's make it a lot difficult to troubleshoot, right? So you T off, you're gonna go crazy. I'm telling you, right? So the best thing to do is not to T-tap. If you're gonna T-tap, keep it at a minimum, and you know where it is. Otherwise, you go crazy trying to figure stuff out. One stuff goes wrong, right? Cool. And yeah, so for this example, the switches, they don't have the actual connectors at the end. You take the connector off, and you insert the bare end directly into the switch. And then that makes it a part of the same network, right? And from one to the next. All right, so those are, in essence, those are the main components, right? The server that stores the backup, you use that to log in and out to control and manage the software, right? You integrate with BATnet AV through the server. You log in your everyday management through the server, SSU. The ECU stores all the information, receives the instructions that you put in, which mean that you press a button, signal sent from the green bus cable from one device to the next. It goes real fast though, right? You press a button, it goes to every device. Run that cable, device to device, back to the ECU. ECU processes the information, and then you say, how does it know to come back to this room, right? In the program, you create a zone, for example, a zone or a room, and you link devices. So you say, okay, this sensor is linked to this room. This switch links to this room, right? So that's what the software system knows now. And ECU sends the command back to the modules in the room. Say, hey, modules, close. Once they close, click, lights on, right? And that's pretty much what's happening. Happening real fast, but that's what happens, right? Press, back to this ECU, processes, sends it back, and it turns on. It happens real quick, right? There's a slight delay, obviously, because it takes time for you to go and come back, but it's not that much of a delay, right? Where it's unnoticeable, right? So, and then the modules we have here, the main modules, sensor interface module, that's used for sensors, so aux sensors, photo sensors, they all use a sensor interface module, all connected again by the same green bus cable. The ALC, the area lighting controller, same connection points in and out, doesn't matter what side you do, as long as you go from one to the next, right? LCM, which is a smaller version of the same area lighting controller, has same connection for the wires, power in, power out to the load or the driver ballast, and then your dimming wires. And then your switches that have the connection points to the back, right? In a nutshell, that's the hardware. You understand that? That's nothing more to the hardware. That's it, right? So the program, Polaris, now is what gives this hardware some capabilities, right, for you to do your stuff, right? So this software, I like to start my stuff off with this hardware first so you understand what's there, and then we get into the software, and then you can maneuver, make changes, and know what's going on, right? So any questions for now on the hardware before we jump into the software? Going once, going twice. Nope. All right. So let me minimize this guy right here. So the software, let me close this first. Let's do this, right? So the software is called Polaris, and Polaris uses a web interface, and it runs on Silverlight, right? And Silverlight is Microsoft's version of Flash. They're trying to go away from that in the future. They're working on actually to develop a new platform that doesn't use Silverlight, but right now, Silverlight is what we use to run Polaris. And if you know Flash allows you to run like graphics and so in web browsers, right? So Silverlight is Microsoft's version of Flash that allows you to run graphics and all that good stuff in the web browser, right? So sometimes you may see some pops up asking you to install Silverlight, right? As you saw it this morning, same thing, right? If you don't have that installed, it's not going to run, right? And in Polaris now, Polaris is pulling from the SSU server. So you're pulling all that stuff back to your front end, right? And there's two ways you can log into the site. You can log, as we call, or using a local copy of Polaris, which means that you just enter the IP address of the server. Remember I said the server has two NIC cards, network cards, right? One of them is connected to your building network, and one is connected back to the ECUs and so, right? So the ECUs connection is on a standalone network called a 172 network, right? But the 10 what's it one called? 10, let me see what it's called. 10.151.27.100, that's the IP address that puts the server on your network. So in that sense, once you go into your web browser and you put in that IP address, you're actually pulling information from the server onto your machine, right? So that we call it running a local copy. So right here, I open the web browser for Internet Explorer on this machine here, and I can enter that IP address. If I enter it just without the Polaris, it's going to give me to this front end, and it has two options, the personal control and the Polaris 3D. Just real quick, the personal control is a capability that allows users to control their lights using their computer. For example, if you're in the office, for example, right, there's a little icon that pops up right here at the bottom of your machine. You enter a little code in there, and the code's enabled from the software. You can enter the code, it can be anything. You put your name as a code, right? You pop the icon up, put in your name, and it pops up some sliders like this. And the slider is only linked to your room, and you can turn various lights off and on in your room from your computer, right? And studies are showing that people that have access to personal control, you save a lot more, because when you can control your own light, you usually dim it all the way down or shut it off, right? Because they can control their own space. So very underrated feature, but it saves the most other than the occupant sensor, but that saves it the most, right? So going back to here, so you enter the IP address of the system right here, and then if you click on this little box here for Polaris 3D, it brings you straight into the program, right? If you look right here, Polaris got jumped in here. So you can bypass that section by entering the IP/Polaris, and it goes directly into this section here, asking you to log in.
So Jason, is that IP address something that all of you guys are familiar with, or is that a number that all of you guys should be writing down, or how's that?
So the question is asking about IP address, and is it something that your team knows already, or I know you have it because it's on your paper.
Yeah, they don't know it yet. That's basically the first mask. Robert's familiar with it because the HVAC controls
pull from that.
is basically the same with a different sub at the end, suffix, I should say. I think y'all's is 7.2. So he's familiar with it, but
It
Javier.
depends on, if it's Explorer, Arlington, or whatever.
I'll tell you, y'all are at 10, 151, 27, 10. We're at 10, 1527, 100. So yours would be at 10, we're the 100. Is the way they subbed
Yeah.
HVAC and
And
lighting.
lighting. So for lighting, it's something you should write down. That's what I was getting at.
Right?
Yeah, this is server.
Server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have yours for HVAC.
What is this, what is it?
The IP address is 10.151.27.100.
Now, that's the building IP, is the way it was written down. The Polaris IP is going to be,
Same one, right here. 10.151.27.100.
What's the one for our server, for because I don't have it right
you're
now on me.
10.151.27.10. So it's a 2-digit
And that's the
instead
server,
of a 3.
okay.
So the difference in, you're in the 10th and then we're in the 100th or
And with that there,
100,000.
you could log on like remotely from home, right, also?
You have to be on a VPN though.
You have to do remote VPN to the
VPN,
desktop and
yeah.
then,
Okay.
yeah, it's secured, so you have to VPN. Be the only way.
Right.
Yep. So that IP address here is pretty much the key, right? Well, actually, it's not. It kind of gets you in the car, but you have to enter your credentials to actually put the key in to drive the car, right? So to get in the car, you need to know that IP address again. One more time: 10.151.27.100 /Polaris. Polaris.
Oh, you gotta put /Polaris?
It depends. It depends. Remember, you can type it in. If you put, let me go back one more
You
step.
don't have to do that too.
You don't have
It'll
to.
get you to this.
Gets you right here.
Polaris.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Without the Polaris, it brings you right here. All you got to do is click this little big button here, right here, right? But if you don't want to come to here, just enter Polaris like right here at the end, and it bypass this and go straight into the login. Perfect. Whatever one easier for you. All right. And once it gets to that point, it's going to be asking you, I guess, the credentials, right? So there's one admin there. There's going to be cases for other users. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to log in using my sysadmin, and I'll proceed with the training right there, and then we can create users accounts from my account, right? So you yourself, you can, you're an admin, so you can do it also.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, when we get to that point,
You
I'd
wanna
like
drive?
to do it,
Yes,
that
perfect,
drive,
yep.
That way you can
That
direct
works, yep.
navigate and
That works, yep.
that gives me a way to.
Exactly, it's better that way actually. I was actually going to step back and have you come here and drive also, but I'll get to that later, right? So yep, so we enter the stuff here, the password /Polaris. We're back in the front end here, Polaris 3D. So you select your user account and then you enter your password. So let me enter my password. Okay, after entering the password, you can either hit enter on the keyboard or you can just hit the arrow right here to go straight into it, right?
Make a note right there. You logged in under sysadmin.
Yes.
They will not be logging in under sysadmin.
No. So sysadmin is
Running.
or Ranium, it's or account. So if I go to any site in this country, anywhere I go and there's an install system, the same password is there for me to get into it. And it's a secure password. Only employees know that one, right? And then we can create accounts like for platinum onwards, right? And pretty much a platinum account, in terms of feature, it does everything that I can do. Platinum can do the same thing. Right? I don't see any difference. There's no difference in there. Just separate them based on people from the factory versus anything else. But the platinum can do anything. And the lower you go down, so it's platinum, it's gold, silver, bronze, standard, and then the features drop off, right? But the system allows you to go further and check or uncheck features as you go also.
Yeah, I did see that.
So you can,
A little bit of
exactly, so you can do that under the user rights, right? So again, so I logged in, enter my credentials, hit enter, and it logged me into this front end, right? So let me go to some of the navigation portions first, how you get to the site, right? So the main site here is University of Tampa, right? And what this means that this is the whole campus, right? And then as other buildings come online, they'll show up here, right? So right now, the first one is a Graduate in Health Science, a Health Studies Center, right? So if I open this, if I double click on that one, it's going to pull up the floor plan, right? So so there's different modes, and let me get to the modes first because it's important. So there's 3 different modes they have up here. They have the configure mode, the operate mode, and the analyze mode, right? The configure mode is what we use to program the site, right? So we use it to create the zones, to map the site, set up load shedding, daylight harvesting, fire alarm, linearization, backnets. We do all that stuff in that mode. So that mode is what we call the programmer's mode. Because this device here is like a suite. So the programmers as well as the managers of the system use the same module, right? Before, way back when, they had it separated, in which they had only a programmer's feature and they had the managed feature, but they decided to go with this one. It's more, intuitive. So they decided to just make a full-blown system, for example, right? So under the configure tab, this tab, you don't really need to concern yourself with this tab, because this one, it goes into the whole development of the whole site. But what I will do though, I will show you how, for you to understand how things link, I'm gonna go into the feature here. This one here is called structure. You can't see this one here, it's called structure. But I'm gonna go into this mode, and I'm just gonna create a zone, drop a couple of devices so you can appreciate what's being done, right? So let me get to that later on, right? So the various floors are shown here on the Site Explorer, right? If I select a floor, for example, open a floor, if I click on a device, for example, double click on a device, it's going to go straight to that section here, all right? I can zoom out. So your scroll mouse is very important, very easy. So you point into a section, scroll in and out. You can move around. You can double click on a space, it zooms to it. And if you see, if I do it either side here, it does the same thing. Either one I go to, it goes to the same floor, right? And if I open up the rooms, for example, I see the devices that are underneath it. So these right here, fixtures, are like LCMs or ALCs, right? And then these are the occupancy sensor guys right here. And then these are the buttons, right? Everything I click on over here, it shows up on the floor plan.
And just for the record, when it says fixture, it's not the physical luminaire, it's the
Module,
device.
exactly. So the LCM or the ALC or the PCDM, that's what it means when it says fixture, not the actual device. Because those devices are interfacing, they're like between. So the system here, the module, and then the fixture is attached to the module, right? Through those 2 black wires. So the power, and then going to the ballast, right? So that's interfacing. Similar to the SIM, the sensor module here. So here, they show you a software version of the occupant sensor. But if you look right here, the back part here, this guy here, top, this is the SIM. All right, and then the sensor is right here. All right, so it's a representation as to what it is, right? Let me take a step back here. So you can see the various floors. So if you click on a floor, for example, it goes in from mode to mode, right? So there's a toggle here, 3D, 2D toggle. Let me push this over so you can see some more of this. All right, so if you click on the 2D, 3D toggle, the floor changes views, right? So most time you want to be in the 2D view, so it's easy for you to see the floor plan like that. But then you can zoom in to a space, zoom out. So you just point your mouse. Anywhere you point the mouse, that's where it zooms to. So I just point up here and zoom there, that's where it goes to. I zoom out from there, somewhere else, zoom in, it goes there. Right, so you point and zoom, very easy for you to navigate. So scroll mouse is your best friend when using this guy. You move around very fast, right? Similar for any floor, double click on the floor, and it pulls up the floor that you're looking at. All right, same thing, zoom in and out, right? Want to go back to the building, the overview, click on the site here, the building, double click, and it goes back to the stack, the building stack, right? So what I can do real quick, it's kind of distracting all the colors here, so I can turn those off. So right now, if I click a floor plan, and here it gives me a floor color type, color. So I click on this and go grayscale. That's floor 1, grayscale. Then go floor 2, grayscale. Floor 3, grayscale. Floor 4, grayscale. Floor 5, grayscale. Floor 6, grayscale, right? So, and then every time you notice now, it's kind of, you can see them, but they're grayed out, right? You can see those wires here, but they're grayed out, right? When you do that, any changes you make, that save button shows up right here, right? If you don't save it, it's not going to save. When I save it, it's going to ask me to synchronize. Would you like to synchronize now? And I say yes, it's going to save it to the server. The SSU is what it's going to save it to, right? So I say yes, it's going to save it to the server. Let's show you that real quick. Okay. Now I'm going to go to one of these floors and just create a sample zone, add a few devices so you can see how the whole thing is built up from the ground up, right? So let me open this again. I go to, say, floor 1, 2D. Let me find an empty space here. Let me find, for example, let me use this for example. All right, so say this restroom, say if it were under control, doesn't seem like it's not under control, but if it were under control, this space right here, there are features here that allows me to go to component library, and from right here they have zones, fixtures, emergency fixtures, occupant sensors, wall controllers, etc. Right? So in this mode here, from this zone, I go to controllable zone, double click on my mouse, and then on the floor plan, you can see my mouse, I can pretty much draw my zone. And drawing is just clicking. So I go into a corner right here, click, 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 right? I'm just trying to get the building outline, right? Which is the zone. And I double click, and then that's gone. So right now my mouse still has that thing on the end of it, so I keep clicking, I'm gonna create more zones. So I gotta go back over it to the pointer, right? That's the pointer. I go here to my fixture, for example, and I say for example, there was a, what's this, an A4? Where's the A4? A4 is that an A4? Where's the A4? Where is it? But these are extra ones. Let me just use one as an example. It doesn't really matter. But what happened is that these fixtures, for example, the reason why they're important is because each fixture, if I go to a fixture, for example, and go on the pencil here to edit, and I go to this Fixture Ballast, it allows you to enter the wattage of the fixture. So for example, this one here is a A3 times 6, right? So the A3 fixture multiplied by six of those ones would give you the 120 watts. I'm thinking that's what I mean right here, right? And so based on every fixture type that you create here, and you drop them on the floor plan, the system pretty much aggregates everything. So if you have a 120 watt device on for X amount of time, it logs that, and it knows how much current, how much power or watt is being pulled from that device, right? And then it uses, it tells you what feature is used to turn it that's giving you savings, right? Whether it's occupancy sensors, whether it's daylight harvesting, whether it's switch, it breaks it down. So it gets very powerful. It breaks down the savings as to what's causing it, right? So at the end, when we go to the Analyze tab, these numbers, they're going to start making more sense as to how it used to calculate the wattage of your building, right? So right here, I drew my zone here, for example. I'm just going to use a fixture. So I use a B1 times 1, right? Click it. I drop it on the floor plan right there, right? I go here to the OCS, the OC sensor, and I select one, for example. Say it's SCM 500. Click one, and I drop it right here, right? And I go to my semi-switch wall controller, and I use a 2-button wall controller, for example, here, and I drop it right here by the door, right? Now, for this wall controller, click it, and I drag it into the zone. So I'm linking this controller to the zone. If I link it to some other zone over here, or any other room I link it to, if I hit that switch, you're going to control those spaces, right? So what they did, they just click it and they drag it into the zone. So when you click on the zone, for example, you see it says zone here, but you can go to the properties here and give it a name. For example, this is 110 restroom. So I'll say 110 restroom, right? So you see this here now is 110 restroom, which has a fixture, which is, as again, not the actual fixture, but it's the interfacing device, which is the LCM or the ALC, right? And the occupant sensor, which is the interfacing device to the sensor, which is a SIM, and a 2-button controller, right? So you're linked to this zone. And then the next mode we go into is called mapping mode. It's going to ask me, it's a mapping mode. So in mapping mode is the mode that you use now. You see the actual ECUs here. And if I open up an ECU, for example, there's three here. So one's on the first floor, third. One controls the first and the second floor. One controls the third and the fourth floor. One controls the fifth and the sixth floor. So if I open up this ECU, for example, you see here the channel 1, channel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? See the channels right here? And these numbers here are the node count. So this one has 45, 49, 51, 31, 47. Remember I mentioned before that each channel has 100 node capability, but depending on what's on the channel, that changes. So in this case, there's 49 nodes on this channel, 51 nodes, 31 nodes, and you can see you have channel 7 and 8, 6, 7, and 8. There's no nodes, it's empty, right? So if you add there's room for expansion, pretty much, right? You can put more stuff on that device, right? If you open up these ECUs now, each channel, you see all the devices that are here. And these are devices that are programmed or linked over. Just by clicking and dragging over to the floor plan. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to undo that, but you click and drag over. And that's how you program. You asked earlier about the assignments and making that ECU. That's how you do it. So in this, when we come to site, every device here that's connected is all grayed out. And once you trigger them, click on them, they make reactions. So if I trigger a module, the lights flick off and on. And I click that module and drag it onto the representation of the module on the floor plan. And that's how you link both the device and the actual floor plan. Once you save it and you configure, so saving it to the server. Once you configure it, then the ECU now captures that information and then it starts to work, right? Which again, I don't want to get too much into it, as I was saying, because this part is this configure tab is at the programmers tab, right? So you don't want to get into it too much, but I just want to show you as what's happening there.
Well, I think they actually just added some art lights, so we'll have to do that. So.
Yep. So for example, let me see if I can see. So if I look on channel 1, so 49, there's 49 devices and there's 49 already mapped. So this one doesn't have any free devices, right? This one 51, 51. This one 31 and 30. So there's one device here that's not mapped. So if I open this device here, the device that's not mapped is this, the isolated LCM. So there's an LCM here, a module. That's this. If I click this module and I trigger it, I should be able to see what devices it is, right? So if I zoom out of the floor plan, for me to get an idea as to where this device is, I would probably have to click on something that's already mapped nearby. And it's on the second floor, go to this floor, for example. All right. And then something in the vicinity here is an LCM here that's not mapped, right? So we can go through them. Anything that's not mapped, it looks like this one. It's just grayed out, right? And we can trigger them and we can see what they are, and then we can just program them. We can map them there eventually. So we can see this part in action, as you say, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time on this part, but we can actually do this actually in the field. But that's pretty much how we do it to program from device to device, right? Let me just save that. I can delete it afterwards. I'm just saving what that zone I created. No big deal, right? So this tab here is whole tab. We'll leave this out for now. This is the programmer's tab. Your tab that you're more concerned with is the operate tab. So the operate has a few options here. So it has operate brightness, for example. So if I click on operate brightness, it shows me the brightness level of the devices, of the room. For example, every zone mode you go to has a legend right here. You click on legend, it gives you an idea as to what this stuff means, right? So 100% means that it's all the way yellow, it's bright. If you go all the way down to blue, that means it's off. So anywhere in between, say green or whatnot, it's dimmed. So for example, from this mode, I can say, for example, go to a room here. There's nobody in this room. I can click this room here and say turn on, right? And turn the lights on in that room, right? Provided these are dimmable, I can click on the slider and I can dim down the light in that room. You see the color gradient in the back is changing as I dim it, right?
And this is real time? Like
it's real time.
Operating this right
Yes.
now, and this is happening
Yes,
in
it's
that room?
happening right now in that room, correct.
So
Yes.
the professor's in there going,
There's nobody in there. And this is how I know there's nobody in there. So look at the occupancy sensor right here. See, the guy here is grayed out. right? If I should zoom out to some, look at this ox sensor. This one here, see that little green around the occupant sensor? That means it's seen motion, right? And that's why the room is on. So these ones that are grayed out, if you notice, the room is blue, I mean the room is off, right? So that's why I know there's nobody in there, right? If somebody was in there, by me messing with the lights, somebody would have probably moved and the sensor would have got green. And I said, okay, somebody was probably sleeping or something, you know what I mean? And then once I did the light, then they moved and the sensor would have picked them up and it would have been green. So there's nobody in there, I'm sure of it, right? So in this mode, you can click and control the room's zones directly from this mode, right? And this is the operate brightness. The next mode next to it is its status. And the only difference between status and brightness is that status, it tells you it's off and on. So status, if it's yellow, it's on. If it's blue, it's off. It's the only difference, right? If I click to the same room and turn it on, right? No matter if I have it all the way up to 100%, all the way down here, right? The color does not change. It stays yellow. It's on 6%, right? But it's on. The color just stays yellow because it's on. But if I should go back to status, operate, brightness, then you see the color gradient here changes. See, it's changing in this mode. So the difference between those two modes, that one you can see the actual brightness level, and one just gives you status off or on. That's it, right? The other one next to this one is the occupancy. So in this mode, you click on this mode, it gives you an idea as to what is occupied. So anything that's orange, that means the zone is occupied. For example, this one here, this sensor is reading activity, so this room is orange. So you can see right here, it says at the bottom right here, occupied areas. That's this, and grayed out is unoccupied. So these areas are unoccupied that are grayed out. So somebody walking into this room right now, and its sensor turns green, then this room will turn orange also, as it will be an occupied room. So this mode gives you a bird eyes view as to what areas is occupied and what's not occupied. And again, you go from floor to floor. I can give you the floor stack also from that mode, and you can see a bird's eye view from what's occupied and what's not occupied. You want to go granular, you go to floor, double click on the floor, then you hit your 2D again, and then you will see. So you see all the sensors here that are green, they're seeing motion, right? That's why they're occupied spaces. All these other ones here are unoccupied spaces, right? The other mode here is time schedules. So click on time schedules, and then this gives you a color gradient, which is purple, and it says right here, time schedule control zone. So anywhere that has this color, purple, it's time schedule control. So for example, if I click on this space, for example, what is this called, the 301 study, it has a turn on with scene 2, turn on scene 1. So therefore, these have different scenes with the buttons, the zone controllers that are being programmed for scenes. And by clicking the buttons, it gives you the various scene levels, right? But if you want to change the event and see what's going on, click on any of these areas. You click on change event, and it brings up like a Windows Outlook type of setting right here. And it gives you like the on time and the off times. So from Monday to the whole week exactly, actually. This has a 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. time, and they have various dimming that level that's being done. So the person that programmed them, depending on what the sequence called for, they program these settings to recall certain scenes, certain dim levels. That's already prescribed, so I won't go into messing with those ones. But in essence, what they did, they just selected a section here, for example. They hit the plus new event button here. They gave it a name, say, for example, test, as a matter of fact, say from, what time is that? Let me see, 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., for example. And I come right here, say 2 a.m. is already selected, 3 a.m. All right, I can probably go 3 a.m. right here. And edit occurrence, which means that how I want it, do I want to do every day, every weekday, every weekend day, so you can select what you want that schedule to be. So in this case, I create a small schedule, 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. I want every weekday, right? And I go OK, and then I go back here, save and close, And you look right here, for my weekdays, it's going to give me my schedule here. So in this case, when this time comes along, that room's going to turn on at this time at 2 a.m. and shuts off at 3 a.m., right? Just an example as to how they created this stuff based on what the requirement is for the space, right? So this is just a sample one. So let's get rid of this one. Open the series. As a matter of fact, all right. Delete the series. All right, so just got rid of it. And then so, okay. So this, as I said, pretty much this stuff is already set in terms of, I guess, the building operation and the corridors. 'Cause this is most like for corridor areas here, in this case right here. And they have certain times that they want them to come on and turn off. But these areas already also have, there's no aux sensors here, but this one's just time schedule controlled. So it comes on a certain time and off a certain time.
Actually, there is.
On some floors, right?
On all the common areas, that's when you see that time schedule timeout, and then they go down to 10%.
They dim.
If somebody
Goes
comes
back
on the
up.
floor with the aux sensor, it'll
Brings it back up.
and brings it back up.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. So that's a feature that they did, right? So it's pretty much the light levels. They have a schedule, and then there's no activity. It drops down. When someone comes in, it sees them, it brings it back up, right? So that's already set. A feature here is load shedding. I don't think you use it here, but load shedding is kind of like a demand response type of situation. So take it that maybe like on a hot summer day, you're pulling a lot of from your HVAC system to cool the building, right? And you know, like lighting, it provides some heat, and I guess you want to reduce the amount of heat and reduce your load. You can come to this feature here and set up priorities throughout the building, and you can set the program to have lights in various levels. They start dimming. So by dimming, you're reducing the output, which reduces the work on the HVAC unit, and you're saving energy, right? And in some cases, the utility also compensates for this stuff, right? If you're a big campus, like for example here, right, and you're pulling a lot of power during a certain time, and they're reaching critical load, they can compensate you guys. Like, hey, if you guys can shed X amount of wattage, right, for 3 hours, right, when it comes to peak hours, and then they pay you for getting that stuff done. And I've actually done this a couple of sites, right, and they send, some cases they send requests to BATnet, right, and then the BATnet sends it back to this, and then this guy has them start dimming throughout, right, and then they get compensated for that stuff.
And just for the record, this is different from daylight harvesting.
That's different. So the question is that load shedding is different from daylight harvesting. So load shedding, you have to manually initiate it, right, by some means, whether you initiate through the program or it's initiated from a utility, right, initiated to a load meter, right? But daylight harvesting happens naturally. You set it up, and based on the sunlight from outside, the fixtures will dim up and down to compensate, right? For example, how daylight harvesting works is that, for example, you require 50-foot candles in a room, right? Whatever that is, right? When there's no sun outside, you set up that room for 50-foot candles. You put your light meter on the table, and you adjust light levels for it to satisfy a 50-foot candle in that space, right? Now, you set up what we call an overnight calibration, in which the sensors will have the lights, they dim, and it calibrates so it knows how much light is coming in, and then the fixtures inside will start to dim in accordingly, right? So in the daytime when the sun comes in, if the sun is coming in, the lights inside will dim to maintain that 50-foot candle in that space. So in a sense, you're reducing the artificial light output to give you a total output of light in a space, right? So that's different from daylight harvesting. Lamp lifetime. This one here just gives you an idea as to how long the lamps are lasting. This one comes from, if I come to zoom in further, you'll see the modules here. I click on one. It gives you how long it's been operating for. So this one here is, what's this, 1767 hours it's been operating for. Expected life is 30,000 hours, right? And where this number comes from, expected life, it comes from, let me go back right here real quick. Selecting a fixture, for example, a device, pencil edit, go to ballast fixtures, it's right here. 30,000. So depending on when the person they're creating the database, they put in this number here as to what expected lamp life would be for the device, right? And and once they drop the components, it shows up throughout the whole space. By default, it's 10,000, but I guess once you have the information, you can put it in there so it makes more sense, right? But the lamp lifetime, that's where that one comes from. So if you go to each device, it tells you how long it's been burning for, right? So this one hasn't been burning that long. So once you do like lamp and ballast replacements, you can just hit the reset button and it starts the clock over again, right? In essence. Question?
And that is specific to one single light, or is it specific to a zone, or just all the lights off of one device?
The lights off one device. So question is that is the lamp lifetime specific to one device or multiple, right? So depending on what the design calls for. If the design calls for one module per device, then it will be one per that one device. If it's that one module controlling multiple devices, it will be that the multiple devices.
So if we look at room 302 right there, you have 4 A4 fixtures. We
Yeah.
replace one and hit reset, it resets it on all 4 of those.
It's going to do it for all of them, yes, in that case. And that's the downfall of this part, right? Because the one module here is doing all 4 of these devices. So if one device were to go and you change that one and hit reset, it will do it for reset for everything, right? So that will kind of skew your number a little bit, right?
Which in that aspect for our end, that's where our date comes in. So we would date our new fixture. We would already have the running track total. So between, we know what the system has, we know what date, we can do our own math. So we just do our dating of our install on a new one.
And write down where the hours at.
Yeah, we can guesstimate between the plus and minus of that. So we would just continue to do our dating process without resetting the module. Unless we went and did a retro and did them all, then that'd be a different story. Then
Exactly.
reset.
Let's get reset.
That'd be a
Replace
good
the
idea.
fixture, date
Just
it,
do one
write
for
down
them
how
all.
long it's gonna run.
I mean, what are they, 2, 3 light fixtures?
Yeah, but with the LEDs, the lifetime I mean, you're talking thousands of hours.
Yep.
I mean, they can last 20 years, they can last 5 years.
Probably retired by the time they go, right?
I wish. But like these corridor lights, they're on 13 hours a day. So, and then these offices, they're gonna be, right now, there's not a lot of space being used, so you haven't even put any time on them. So you've got lights that are probably upwards into, you know, probably a couple
5,000.
thousand hours
This
already.
is 5,000 a quarter. This
Yeah.
one is 5,000. This one in the office here is
See the
136.
difference?
So,
You're already for 5,000 hours in a building that just pretty much opened in August. And that office isn't being used at 136.
Right.
So,
yep. And depending on what you change, the lamp or the ballast, you reset right here. So the lamp, you reset right here. The ballast, you reset right here. Both of them,
yeah,
reset both of them.
which most of those are LEDs, so very rarely are we
Drivers,
gonna change
the
the
drivers,
diodes.
yeah.
So it's not gonna be the lamp, it's actually gonna be the driver.
Driver, exactly. Yep.
But if we also, if we depreciate the lights where none of them should be at 100%, so already we're decreasing the draw on the driver, which extends the
Life,
life. So
exactly.
if we run at 80%, we're still gonna extend that life as to what they say,
Right.
50,000 hours, that's, we may get a little bit more out of them.
Yep.
It's gonna depreciate over time.
Exactly. All right. So that tab is the operate. Remember, this next tab, the operate lamp life. Alarms here. This tab here, in case there's something that, for example, if I should go and I pull a switch out the wall, I take the cable, take the wires out, right? It sends an alarm. Something pops up, say, hey, something happened here. And you click on it, and it goes directly into where the issue is. So this is a cool feature. If there's anything that happens, the ECU gets disconnected, it pops something up right in the corner right here. And then you click on it, and it shoots right to the control point and say, hey, something happened there. And you can see whether to take action or not, right? So this is kind of a waiting feature. So it doesn't do anything until unless there's something that's happening that needs it, right? Emergency, DALI, there's no DALI here, so don't worry about that part. And the battery status, this one, you don't have any wireless. So the wireless system, for the switches, we use batteries, and for the sensors, we use batteries that last for 10 years. But it's not wireless here, so you won't need to worry about this one. But this is a feature here, just like we have with the lamp life, where it gives you like the time as to when it's going to reach the critical, the end of life. Similarly, we had a battery status option here that tells you how long the switch is before they go, and so. But there's no batteries here, so you don't need to worry about this.
But we could incorporate, let's say we did an addition and for some reason.
For wireless, yes.
We went with a wireless.
Yep.
We could
Yep.
set up.
And it could be a hybrid. It works just fine. The wireless will work just fine with the hardware, So it works both ways. The nice.
Like for instance, not
Yeah,
interrupt,
yep.
but like the bathrooms are hard ceiling. Obviously, you see they're not controlled.
There you go.
It's it's different because it's being a bathroom.
Yep, and you can
But we
incorporate
could
that into it.
integrate a battery system
Yep.
in there.
Exactly. Right. So the operate tab is pretty much straightforward in terms of the brightness level. All it tells you is how bright the area is for the operate brightness, and you can turn devices off and on from here just by clicking. So got to be careful, right? So you can go to the corridors here, click this here, and say turn off, and this whole corridor will go off, right? So got to be careful, and you can the operate status. All it tells you, you can still click areas here and turn off, but all it tells you in this mode is whether it's off or on, right? That's all it tells you in this mode here. Occupancy, whether it's occupied, you see orange and the sensor is going to be green, right? If not, it's going to be grayed out. Time schedules, what has the purple is time scheduled areas. What's not, there's no schedules, it's on occupancy. If you look between schedule and the occupancy, you can see that the sensors are the ones like the outer ones, and the time schedule is the ones on the inside. So there's two different strategies being used here: time schedules and aux sensors. Load shedding's not done. Lamp lifetime, we just talked about that. Alarms, we talked about that. It just waits on any issues and it pops up to alert you that something's happening. DALI, there's none here. Batteries, there's none here. But if you do, then it's already there and you give you the information for that. All right. Next important tab here is the Analyze tab. Like with this tab, for example, you can analyze, for example, and go detail. Say, for example, a room here is not shutting off. Earlier, I talked about these dual tech sensors, and if they see sometimes with the air motion and whatnot, they think that someone is still in the room and they keep the room on, right? So a feature here in the system is a detail in which you can run an analysis on the sensors and see if it actually turned off or not. For example, I go to a room here, I select a sensor, right? And then I go here, click occupancy sensor, right? And it's going to give me an analysis going right here. So it gives you the time, and I can move this little bar from back from when it just started, right, all the way up to where it's at right now. Or I can move this little slider here. At either ends, I can bring to specific times I want to analyze, and then I hit update chart. Once I do that, at the bottom here, it gives me information. So if it's red, that means the area is occupied. And if it's green, that means it's unoccupied. So once you see the hills and valleys like this one, that's a good sign. That means the sensor is working. It's seeing activity, right? If you just see red all the way across, that means something is wrong with that sensor. It's not shutting off, right? And then you want to investigate, like, why is the sensor not shutting off? And you may see that, hey, you may be next to an air vent, something that causes the sensor not to shut off, right? But the Analyze tab here works very cool. And you can analyze the sensor, you can analyze a room also. If I select this room, for example, and say record its status, for example, I can see when the room turned on and when the room turned off, and there's times there, right? If I want to get specific, I can bring my sliders to specific times, hit update chart, and this gets updated. And if I put my mouse over the bottom part right here, I can see that the times, the dates and time when it's off. And as I go into the yellow section here, it comes on. So I can see the time that the air comes on. So you can kind of an idea as to when an air came on, when it came off, right? All that analysis is done in this port here. You can export it, right, into a PDF or a PNG for a spreadsheet or somewhat. You can export them, right? Another feature is the energy reporting feature of this part. You can do it as simply as on a module, or you can do it on a floor, or you can do it on the whole building. For example, if I should come to this room, for example, here, select this room, and I say consumption, saving, and demand reduction, right? So now this is giving the energy breakdown of that room, right? And it's pulling that information from the module. Remember, the module has a certain wattage associated to it. So once I click it, it's pulling that information, right? And looking right here, this room is pretty much 3/4 of it is being energy savings, right? So the whole pie is the baseline, right? And then the red section here is what's being used, right, to keep the room running, and everything else is savings. So the next question is, and note, is being pulled from this time here to this time here. So if I should move it to a different time here, a different time frame I can move it to, and then do an update chart, this will change, right? See, it changes a little bit now. So now I can say, what is causing me to get this savings right here? All I have to do is click on split by strategy right here, hit update chart again, and then this green portion gets broken down. If I put my mouse over one side here, savings by OCS, that's the occupant sensor. So you can see the occupant sensor is giving you the most savings on that section right here. And then this part here is TT, means task tuning. And what task tuning is, as I mentioned earlier, the devices, the lamps are not burning at 100%, right? You task tune, which means that you provide an artificial cap. So for example, 100% would be the top end, you burn it at say 90% or 90 or 80%, right? And that would extend the life of your lamp, right? And so they're showing you that task tuning here, TT, is contributing to this amount of savings, which is 0.18 kilowatt hour for this section right here. You want to go further, like from the whole range, right? Update chart. It gives you more information, right? So the further back you go, the more information you'll get, because it's just pulling from 1%. So let's go all the way back to when the building first got turned light. Let me go all the way back here. Just kicks and giggles. So I want an idea as to how this room's operating since inception. I can go all the way back. Take a little bit of time. It's been up running for a while. So let's.
I have a question about
Yeah.
that. You said.
Let me stop
cap
somewhere.
off the amount you allow the fixture to burn. So if you cap them off at 80%, your savings by TT should technically be 20% of your consumption under EMS.
So what's the question?
Is that correct?
So the question is that
And
if
it's not really.
so if I cap off at 80% brightness, right? Put it this way, say a lamp, for example. So the question is, what would be, let me start back, get back. So for example, a fixture is controlling a 100-watt device. Let's keep it simple, keep math simple, right? A 100-watt device controlled by a fixture, right? And I were to task tune that fixture to 80%, right? In theory, you're saving 20% by bringing it down to 80%. There's some math and other stuff that it's kind of not, it's not direct. It's probably be a little bit logarithmic, right? So it's not direct, but just keep math simple, right? That's kind of what it's going to be doing, right? So we cap off at 80%, 20% savings is task tuning up right off the back. That's pretty much what it is, right? So depending on what's happening now. So task tuning is one feature, but there's multiple features. So that same feature could be going on in daylight harvesting, where there's giving it some more, so it brings it back down a little bit more. Then it's being in personal control. Somebody in their office could slide it down some more savings. Occupant sensors, you walk in, you walk out, off, on. So the system is keeping a constant log of everything that's happening. And over that time, that's why I was going back to go as far as I can. And then I was going to do the update chart again for it to run the whole setting. So this looks pretty good. So 3/4 of this is savings for how far back I went to that room to where I'm at right now. So 3/4 of this is savings, right? So the arc sensor you can see is saving the most energy right here in this portion, right? And the task tuning is I can do percentage too, I believe. Let me see. Well, in this portion here, you can enter like the energy price. So you got demand price and energy price you can put in, so off your utility bill, right? And you can model them also using the different units, and it can give you a report with what's been done. So this is from August 20th to right now is when I ran this one for. So this is doing pretty good, right? And the savings are shown right here. So they got task tuning, personal control, time scheduling, occupancy sensing, load shedding, daylight harvesting. The colors will show up here based on what strategy is used to give you your savings. Right? F11 so I can see the bottom portion here. Can't see that part, right? I can export this into a graph if I wanted to, right? Similarly, another view is, the one I did was this one, consumption saving and demand reduction. If I go to typical consumption savings, which is kind of a different view of the same thing, right? It gives me, let me just come back a little bit more here, give you update chart. It gives me like a breakdown. So from the top, so it's 60 watts, back to your question now, so 60 watt, right, is the baseline, right? The module that I'm running a report on is a 60 watt module, right? And so from 0 to 60 is the baseline, and then from 50 right here downward is what's being used. So everything in green is a savings. So everywhere that you see that a red and a green coincide, it means the stuff is on. If you see only green, that means the room is off. So if it's off, it's 100% savings, right? Which is why everything here is all green. If I want to break that down further, let's click on split by strategy, update chart, and then they'll break this down further to give you the savings. So you can see, AUX sensor shut this area off. So you can see the whole 60 watt is being saved right here, right? And the same question you asked earlier, the task tuning is right here, right? So from a 60 watt, I use the example as 100 watt, it made math easier, but same principle, right? 60 watt is at the top when it's burning 100%, and by task tuning it, you're using 50 watt in that sense. And that in turn leads to a longer life of the fixture, right? And yeah, so this is two strategies that you use here. All one used here is just task tuning AUX sensor is what's used in this situation here. Right? And again, you can change your energy price, your demand price and whatnot, and then it can give you more realistic savings. And in the past too, I've actually used this feature here to get rebates for companies. I've been stuff, and then the utility will come out, and then all they want to see is this. They see this stuff here and they're like, oh, wow, right? Because they're seeing it and it's running its live real time. And then based off this alone, based on me just demoing this, they sign that paperwork to approve their rebates, right? So something you can look into if the state of Florida offers that stuff.
This may be a question for later, but
Yep.
as far as the level to view and to manipulate like demand price and so forth, as to what level would you have? Is that bronze, silver, or maybe for later?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish up this part. I'm gonna jump right in that part. No, I'm not sure, but again, with every mode you can check or uncheck. So you can.
We have an energy manager here on site, so this is something that, you know, I probably could say here and let him deal with it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. You know, I'd like to make sure that I still have control, but if he wanted to play with it in his own time, that I can.
We should have access to do it. Yep, got it.
But
Yep.
not to where he's reprogramming
Everything.
my
Gotcha.
stuff.
Gotcha. Yep.
This is for data now.
He
Makes
likes
sense.
to do that.
My point.
Yep. And as the admin, you can
Limit
enable that.
to what he can do, but if he needed a report, let's say for Kevin, they asked him for a report. Here he can go, or I mean, for that matter, I mean, it's just something I don't have time to do, but I can give him this little part and say, here, go print this out and give it to Kevin.
Yep. We'll get to that part soon. All right. So again, so the analysis portion of it, it's good for two purposes. Yeah, there's more than two, but the two main ones that I see is for the energy reporting section, the savings section, and what. And the other part is for informational purposes. Again, the occupant sensor in a room is just, the room is just not turning off. You're like, why is the room not turning off? Right? You click on the sensor itself, you run the analysis on the actual sensor, and then if you see the straight red, then you know that it's not turning off. And then you can investigate that sensor further by seeing if it's toward a vent, it's a defective sensor, or something, right? You can get closer in to see what's going on. Right? As long as you see red and green, that's good. That means the sensor is going off and on based on activity. So that's good when you see both red and green. All right. So let me just step back a little bit and let's go to the user management. So how you can create your user accounts. So let me do that. I'll let you drive and I'll let you know where to go to create those. Yep. Let's pull this on with. All right. So to create the user account, you're going to be going to that little squiggly icon on the top beside the save menu. We call it the Polaris icon. It's to the top left, top up, to that right there. Yep, kind of like the file menu. We call it the Polaris icon. Just click on that.
Basically, it looks like a knot. Tight knot.
Is that no? It's actually a tight light bulb, like a T8 light bulb that's twisted.
All right.
Yeah. Click on that, then hit on user management.
All
All right. User management, you select what level you want to do first. So select the level. So we got platinum, gold, silver,
right.
bronze.
Well, let's start to see what this highest level has.
All right, good. So select gold first. All right, so at the top, you see that person's head on the top, we see the plus sign up top, all the way up, right there. Yep.
Gotcha.
Let's create new user. And right there is enter, say full name.
But now, just
Oh,
before
you want
I
to see
do
it?
this,
Okay.
I want to see what
User rights. Right,
Yeah, I
at
want
the
to
top.
see what capabilities
No,
it has off the bat.
Same thing. Go back to that one. Click on that one again. Yep. And second tab, user rights at the top.
I got
That
you
one.
right there.
Yep. So when that expands, see everything that's checked. That means those are by default what a person can do or can see. If you uncheck it, that means they can't. They won't be able to see it.
So they can open site, task, synchronize,
Configure,
devices,
yeah.
settings, user management, domains, create, delete.
What specifically would you like to configure a device? Like mapping mode. You want to like mapping mode, that portion right there, that one, mapping mode. Go down, two more, no, up two.
Oh, right here,
Mapping. If you uncheck that one, then they won't have access to the ECUs to do any configuration. Remember, the ECU is what stores all the information. So by unchecking that portion alone, they can't get to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like out of my department, the actual electricians, that would be myself, Javier, and Brad.
Yep.
So they would need, God forbid something happens to me. I mean, granted, they'll have the video, but
Yep.
we want them to be able to do this
Exactly.
if need be.
Yes, you may know
If we
the.
have to add a fixture.
Yes, so you need to create an account for them using that one, right? I was talking about the energy manager. I was talking about.
Oh,
like,
no.
like he wouldn't be using that, right?
No.
Like maybe a standard or bronze or something.
No need. That's why I said I wanted to see what they were before I created an account. Because if
Got it.
it's only bronze where he just needs to view and print, that would be it.
Yep.
Just the view and print.
Yes.
Would all he would need to be as far as the bronze.
Okay.
So.
Just want to go into his ones first. You want to keep looking and
I
what?
just, for that, I'd like to do my guys, Javier and,
Okay.
and Brad,
All right, so we got it.
first.
All right, so you finish. Go hit back on information if you want to use that. Then right here you can put in.
Well, here, let me
Okay.
just see what else. Operate brightness status. So they basically have full control. They can adjust
Pretty much,
schedules, view lamp life. That if I unclick that wouldn't allow it to reset, right?
No, that won't be there. You uncheck that feature. Once they go into that mode, it will not be there under their setting.
Because that one, I mean, I wouldn't even want to do that. Like I said, unless we're doing the whole thing.
Check it again. Check it one more time. Yep, that's gone.
What was the difference between a check, the inner box, and then?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Usually, if there's multiple settings underneath it, and you do it like that, it checks. Say one is, I guess that's just a default feature. If you had like say more than one, and you did that section we just did a while ago, one would still be checked or be unchecked. But I guess by default they have it there. I guess maybe it wouldn't be a difference. But if you want to take it off, just do both of them. Take it off like that.
I mean, that's going to be on a hard reset. That's only in a lighting change. So just so nobody makes that mistake to reset,
Yep.
I would like to uncheck
Take it
that.
off. Got it.
An alarm defeat, no. Emergency lighting, battery status. Battery status doesn't matter. Analyze.
Yeah, I would probably give maybe full for that one because it depends on how if you want them to actually go in to see what's going on as I was doing. It'd be good to have it full.
Actions, edit time, add item, delete item, edit components, add components, delete components, control lights, brightness, yes, all that, scenes. Scenes I'm gonna uncheck because those are usually predetermined.
Okay.
Those are usually set.
Yeah, those are set already.
Well,
Scenes are set.
That's done by the president as far as through the project management teams, so those are set that way.
They are selected.
That's like an act of Congress to get it changed, so, or approved, I should say. So we'll take the scenes out as far as programming the scenes. Now, they can still view, they just won't be able to change,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Properties, behavior. personal control, backnet. See, I guess that brings me up to my next thing. Those are checked, but they're not checked. That's the box within the
Okay.
box.
I mean, that's because it comes under all the way up floor plans, and you can see some are checked and some are not checked. So go up a little bit more. Go up, stop right, properties. Let me see, properties, name.
Just curious what the difference
Yeah.
in, I mean, those are all done. It didn't start till back here with the device network,
network.
device maintenance, and then like a change of file, layers, site position, site
It's
details.
different, yeah. I've never really noticed that. Usually, if it's checked, that means active. If it's not checked, it's not active. Like it's like
I mean,
safe
that
way to
could
go.
be a sidebar or
Yeah.
something later on,
Mhm.
but for the most part, it looks like, okay, they can pretty much do everything except for changing the scene percentages and resetting
The reset the lamp hours.
the lamp hours, you know, because I just wouldn't want it done as, oops, I did it.
Got it.
Okay, well, there need to be a process before we could change that. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much giving them full access to add, map, delete, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. In that case, information and
All right.
there is where you go. Yep.
So we can do here, full name. That is.
And the username is what you're going to use to actually log into Polaris.
You want to pick your username? Your username. Or, well, that's, I mean, it's, for
J-
that one,
J
we're just-
Perez.
Yeah, we're just gonna use J Perez for your username.
And the username is not case sensitive, so it can be all caps, all lowercase, but the password is case sensitive though.
So now for your
Password, you got to hit the change button. Hit the change button to the right, and then there you enter the password twice.
Now you need to do your password.
Yep. So you specific to you.
That's gonna be specific to you. Now as an admin, I could always override whatever he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Enter it again.
Well, you gotta do it again.
Second tap. So confirm. Make sure you type
And then
right
write
there.
it down so you don't forget.
This one I put it here right now.
Okay. Hit OK,
Oops, sorry. Alright,
and then hit OK at the bottom again.
this alarming emails. Now, on something like that, this allows him to get the alarming and emergency.
Yeah, but that involves some extra IT stuff to have, like the stuff being emailed to you. But there's a feature there. If you get your IT involved,
Yeah.
they can get that stuff sent out to you and so.
Okay, because actually I need to set myself up for that. I don't know if that's been set up, so,
Okay.
on a side note.
Okay. Zip. So there he is right there. So then you go create an. Yep. Again. Yep. Same deal. Go back to user account. I think you may change because the one you did only applied
yeah.
to him. So you got to go back.
Okay, so we're only gonna take out, where was it?
You gave full level analyze, I think, and it was reset. Yep, that one.
It was reset
Yeah,
that.
go again. Go back. Yeah.
That's right, you gotta click it twice.
And top one too. Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Analyze,
Both of them.
level
Yep.
2 full,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was.
Scenes, that one.
Scenes,
Mhm. Yep.
delete, well, not delete, but
Take
take
it
that,
off.
uncheck,
Yep.
and that was it.
That was it.
Okay, so back here. Run. Change.
Mhm.
Brad, you're up.
Same deal. Write it down so you don't forget it. And then okay.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. Anybody else?
And
On
then
the IT?
now for Robert, I want him to be, he's not gonna be really doing the program, he's actually HVAC, but
Mhm.
because the HVAC controls could later on
Mhm.
be integrated with the lighting.
Mhm.
He wouldn't actually be mapping out lights, but let's say he wanted to check something with the HVAC controls off the lighting.
What happened is that we use we call it BATnet,
Mhm.
right? And pretty much
They're on
BATnet's
BACnet, yeah.
BATnet, right? So the this device system here, it exports points because use an IP-based system, so they can pull the points and it gives and its name. For example, this is room 101. Then the aux sensor will be named OCS room 101. So in his system, he'll see the sensor, right, and what room, they see the name, so he knows that sensor belongs to this room. So he can link that sensor in his front end, he can link that sensor to the VAV for that room, for example, right? So all that stuff is done via BACnet, and it exports all the points, and he pulls it, he discovers it, and then he does his stuff on his side.
So now, that's what I mean, as far as his level, he wouldn't necessarily be like programming it.
No, he doesn't even need this. This exports it. So he pulls it and then goes into his BACnet program.
As an emergency, let's say something happens to me, Brad, and Javier. Right now, he's the only one that can do this for some reason.
But with BACnet, remember, what he's doing most times, what I've seen with BACnet, they read the status of the occupant sensor to do something, right? In some cases, what they also have is capability to write to zones. So in essence, some cases, BACnet, they don't even want to use our program. They say, okay, they can send a command and to turn this room on, bring it to a certain scene from the BACnet system, because it's all integrated. They have the points for the zones, the fixtures, the sensors, so they can do everything without even touching this.
Okay. So until we get to that point, he won't be able to use it from system. He's going to have to use this.
Exactly.
So now to get basic turning on, turning off, adjusting, at what level would you suggest?
Probably bronze.
Just the bronze?
Yeah, let's try bronze. Hit a bronze and then look at the same deal. Hit bronze and hit on the create the top new user, and then hit user rights, and then you see.
So we're seeing test, open site, off site. Let's see. We may want to do the off site, but we can manipulate that.
Okay, so, yep.
Synchronize, configure settings, domains, create, delete.
So there's not many things. Can't get in too much trouble in this mode.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just, it's something that he would
See
be
the-
able to operate.
Operate brightness. You can see
Brightness,
status. Yep.
See occupancy is not.
You may want to check that. Or maybe go
Well, I
one.
want to compare the
Silver.
to bronze
Exactly. Gotcha.
before I start
Got it.
checking and manipulating.
Mhm.
Time schedules, weekly events, exceptions, calendar, load shedding, lamp lifetime, alarm, delete from history, won't want to delete that, battery status, actions, control lights, brightness status, scenes. Alright, so let's.
You gotta
Oh, you gotta
cancel
back
that.
out?
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, he didn't do anything much. Right? So you can go back.
Alright,
Silver.
so silver,
Yep, same here.
create, user rights.
Just a little bit
So
more.
now we're at new site, open site, synchronize, configure devices, settings, user management, user create, delete, modify, structure, mapping.
But the structure is most likely the programmer's mode, so you don't really under the configure mode actually.
Control, operate, brightness, location. So basically, it would probably be a bronze with some added stuff.
Yes. Nothing's gonna go perfect. You gotta put some here and here and there.
I just
Yep,
want to
adjust
see
it.
what the
This
gap
difference.
was.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yep. Mhm.
see how big of a gap.
Yep.
But this gives almost to where, if you weren't too familiar with it, you could delete and make
Yeah,
some mistakes.
you can create some
But then
damage.
he needs to be able to have some control. God forbid something happened to us. Again, we'll still have this. I would just think somebody would need a little bit more training to watch this video before they got
Into it. Yeah, correct.
too much rights.
Yep. I agree. Gotta
So
back
we
cancel.
gotta
Yep.
cancel. So go back bronze, create user rights. So we're gonna synchronize. So let's give him offsite because he has access to VPN.
Mhm.
So that would allow him to VPN, correct?
The offsite one.
Yes. Is that what's that? Oh,
Offline site.
site.
What happened is that I think it's a feature that no, that has nothing to do with the VPN
Okay,
connection.
yeah,
No.
sorry, I misread.
No.
Configure devices. He wouldn't need to configure. Domains create. Wouldn't need to do
Create
that.
any user. So.
This is all kind of
Yeah.
programming.
Don't worry about. Yep. Don't worry about it.
Occupancy time schedule would probably help with their.
If you scroll down a little bit more, go to the stop right here. That is where the operate tab. That was what you want to put right there. If you want him to be able to do it from his operate mode.
If he's operating it,
Yeah.
but I mean also as far as the occupancy.
To create one or so, then you
Oh,
probably need
this
to check
is-
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this is.
that's what you
created.
create it for him. Yeah.
Alright,
And then the
which-
the operator, the way you operate, you can adjust it or, you know,
Yeah, so he would want more of this.
the operate part. Yeah.
Occupancy, brightness, status, okay. Time schedule, that would have access, load shed isn't really necessary, but, emergency lighting. I don't know if that would be.
Nah, that doesn't apply. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't apply to what we're doing.
Nope.
Analytics would help, but he wouldn't be able to change, that's just,
No, I was just viewing. You can't do anything to it.
yeah,
Just
so
viewing.
that would allow him to view all
Yep,
the stuff that he would need.
Correct.
See what's going on with the building for energy problems. Add items, delete, we'll be doing that, control
Yeah.
brightnesses, that's all in there. Property's name. He wouldn't have personal control. It's not
Yeah,
building
all that
thing.
extra stuff is stuff that he's not gonna be doing.
Yeah, so, I mean, that would be what he would need to do, be able to turn on, off, analyze, see if
Analyze
there was
stuff.
anything going on.
Yep.
Besides
Occupancy
basically
status.
programming. That's all.
Is it?
configured.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just reading the subs. This is all configured, so that's all programming.
Yep. All programming stuff.
Modify, I mean, you wouldn't need any of that.
It's like creating a
domains.
user, so it can only create somebody that's lower than you. So you be able to create like a standard. Can't create up.
Yeah, so I mean, that would pretty much be what he would need to do besides programming.
And this is the HVAC person, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
Robert, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's another supervisor that's not here, he's out right now, and then obviously our maintenance manager, they would have more something like the gold along the lines of Javier and Brad.
Yeah, gotcha.
So,
Yep.
all right,
Information.
so
Yep.
information,
There you go.
all right, Robert, you're up. Here's your password, that'll give you pretty much everything but programming and installing.
You can use numbers, right?
Numbers, letters, caps, lowercase.
It's not like our UT where you gotta update it, well now, at least you only gotta update it once a year, before it was every 90 days.
Hit OK.
Okay.
No, top one. And then the bottom one. There you go. Alright.
So, as far as it's in the room, that's all we're gonna do as far as users, but at least we got some other people.
You know how to do it.
besides.
So in this case, you want to put that in. Then you want to add somebody else right now. You want to save this.
Um,
Save this one first.
Well, I'm curious, cause as of right now, I don't think I just had a generic, I haven't actually
Hit-
put my name.
Oh, okay. Okay. You want to create a platinum one? So hit on the platinum and do the same.
Well,
thing.
that's what I'm saying, I have the
The admin one.
information to do for the platinum, but I'm not like in there, it's just generic.
Got it.
So if I wanted to do that, I'd have to actually set it up.
Yes.
But as of right now, I can manipulate anything in the platinum with what I have.
Yep.
Okay.
Same. Yep. Same deal.
So I
All
can
the
do
difference
that.
would be this one that it'll be specific to you. You have your name and your login, but the user rights is the same thing.
Yeah, well, eventually I want to do it. I don't want to have it just generic because then
Got it.
anybody can get to it and then anybody can start messing with things. So we'll change that at a later date to cancel this out.
Yep.
All right, we're good for now.
So for now, you're gonna click close at the bottom here, and then as remember, every change you make for it to change, save, you gotta hit that save button. So
that's-
save, yep, and hit synchronize. Yes, so synchronize is saving it to the server, SSU server, and then so if you after this, we're gonna log out and then log back in. I guess you probably can test it. A couple of guys, make sure that their logins work. All right, so give it a second first that it does. All right. Okay, hit on the same Polaris icon beside the save button and hit log off at the bottom. Log off sysadmin. All right, then hit other user, and then either you guys can try
You wanna
try
try?
your credential, make sure that works. No, hit the arrow. Yep. Or hit enter the keyboard. Yep. Just before you leave, just once it logs in, just log off. So it's the next person, just so you get comfortable with it. Right. So you're logged in. Just hit log off. So.
Got you. You're up there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Good. All right. So somebody else hit other user.
Now so from now
It's
on,
there.
it'll show up.
Yep.
Okay. So until that person logs in, they won't show up, but once they've logged in,
It'll be catch. Yeah. Yep.
which is good, because then I can know if anybody
Mm-hmm.
that circumvents the system.
There you go. All right. Then you're in. So 2 and one more.
You're up, Oh, you got on the phone already?
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Nice.
okay, what do I hit, just hit,
Other user. I think we had asked about that though, about how you can operate it. I don't think you
It's
can.
probably gonna be difficult. I don't think so. It's probably gonna be difficult because use
Well,
the
we-
Silverlight platform, so I don't think it is on the Apple platform because it's iPhone, right?
Yeah.
yeah, this one.
Yeah, I don't think it. Hit on the arrow. No, the arrow.
We've also got pads that we're integrating our CMMS system or computer maintenance management system.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, I think, one Droid, but the rest are all Apple Macs or iPads.
So how do we? just-
Hold on 1 second. Before you even go, so you look right here. You see that the configure is not there. All you see is operate
Yeah,
here, and it analyze because that's the same stuff. Something you enable and disable.
So basically, you can't program.
Mhm.
You can change things, like if you needed to change something for an event or somebody had, but as far as program, you don't have programming.
Yeah,
You
Right.
can't configure.
pretty much.
You're not gonna
Exactly.
be installed.
okay.
Which is what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So, yeah, you can just log off.
Just
though.
as an emergency, somebody, we
When
can't
you
get
log off,
there,
Yep, so the same icon to the left, squiggle the icon there, light bulb.
the light bulbs.
This
and
one.
stuff, I'm not-
This one right here.
Oh,
Right.
It's just
It's like a T8, twisted T8. Click on that one, then hit log off at the
Call
bottom.
that The chew toy. Looks like a doggy chew toy.
There you go.
It does, doesn't it? I was looking for a regular light bulb, incandescent.
Cool.
All right. So
All right. Yep.
now-
Log back in with ad. You can log
now
back in
I'm
with
just curious of
admin.
How it would, to scroll left to right,
The
drag,
thing is because of the let me see.
just because it's shortened up.
Yeah, once you have it on, once you take it off this, because you're losing some space here because it's on the projector. Once you take it off the projector,
Okay.
you'll see it properly,
Got
but
it,
because
okay.
it's on the projector.
It's a fitness screen.
Exactly. Right.
All right, now so.
So hit back in your admin if you want to go back into admin. There you go.
See what I'm saying?
Got it.
This was uppercase, lowercase, numeric, lowercase.
Got you. Got
But
it.
it was written upper and lower.
Got it. So you want to create yours, a specific one right now?
We can, or I can do it later.
Maybe later?
Now that I know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say to make it more legible so you understand what it is.
Now I got it.
Cool.
All right. All right.
All
so
right.
we were going to.
So with the mapping portion, and we're gonna do that in the actual field. But where you go to configure, go to configure, then go to mapping. That one right here. Yep. And then what floor was the stuff added? What floor is it?
I believe it was the first and second.
First and second.
The portrait lighting.
All right. Let's go to the first floor first, and then so over here in the drop, you can either go to the drop down right here, and click on the floor 1. And once it comes to the floor 1, all right, then you can move the stuff to the side. Or you can click on this portion also. That's fine. And yeah, you can close it. Yep. And you can zoom in and out.
Okay, so every time
Yep.
we go to
Mhm.
pop up.
Yep.
All right.
And if you want to bring it back out, just click it, and it stays up permanently.
Yeah, let me do this and just truncate it so it's
Mhm.
always there.
And you can zoom to, if you don't remember where you worked on, you
Uh,
can just zoom to that specific area.
Where were the portrait lights installed? Question mark. See, that was the reason I don't know where they actually installed it. I'm gonna assume This is the elevator lobby, so it had to have been somewhere around here.
All right, so that color code here is red. So if you open the ECU, so the ECU says open that arrow, open the ECU, right? And it's put in the down arrow here just to kind of bring this legend all the way down. And the red one is be this one, but there's 40 or 40, so there's no
So
map.
that's
It's not there. So it's in the vicinity.
It's
So
gonna be here,
maybe
channel
purple.
4.
Yep, as two devices that are not mapped. So you open the arrow here, click on the arrow, and then you'll scroll down. So everything here is up from top to bottom.
There's
That's
right
one.
there.
That's one of them. Let's go up.
So if I double click on that, it's not gonna bring
No,
anything
you have
up.
to wink. So what happens is that if you're in the, you gotta be in the actual fields. When you click the wink, what going to happen is that it's going to cause that module to open and close, and then it's going to go off and on. So you can visual. You have to visually be there.
As far as getting to that vicinity, I won't be able to because it's not programmed.
No, but
so-
this is what you do. Remember, everything is kind of like it's the one after the other daisy chain. So if you click on something like above or below it, click on it, you can see the vicinity. So you know that. And click on one afterwards. So it's somewhere right here. So you see. So you're going to go in that space, then you trigger it and look around this area, and then you're going to see what it is.
So if I double click on that, though, that's not going to.
Because it's not programmed. There's nothing there.
No, I meant on this one, it's not going to zoom
Oh,
me in.
it's right here. So click on this one, and then it goes to right here.
There we go. Oh, but I want to back up. So
Yeah, there's a module. Zoom out. It is a module here. Look like something is not mapped here. So maybe that's what it probably
that's
is.
probably it. Let's see.
No. So click on the hand here.
Grab.
Yep. Move around.
Yes, this is going to be the wall that the grab. This is study, so this is probably the wall that those fixtures on. So let's see that this doesn't. Yeah, it's got to be these fixtures here. That's just where the ALC. This is the long wall where the portraits are.
Yep.
Study lounge area. This is where the seating, or it could be. It's got to be this wall. So yes, those would be the devices.
Okay. So when we trigger it, then we just in essence just click the device here. We're not sure. Click and hold, and then you click and drag it over. And once it formed, the arrow is formed. Bring it to the device, more to it, towards this ALC. Up. See that little link is
No, I
formed
got
now.
you.
But you're not sure, right? So we don't do it yet. So we got to be there to verify it before we do that. But that's how we do it. We click it and drag it, and then you let it go, and then this color would turn into purple. And then you have to save it. By saving it, then you save it to the server. But you have to do a thing we call configure, which is clicking on the same Polaris icon here, the squiggly icon, and configure devices. And then from right there, go again, one more time. I don't think you clicked it. Try it again. Configure devices. Yeah.
That's cool.
Let's get a feel. Yeah, but the configuration portion of it, you actually, right here. So hit configure. Ignore all that stuff. Hit configure. And then, so from right here, once you say configure, you're writing out the changes to the actual ECUs. So that's how that makes it actually work. So the difference between partial and full, partial, it'll work 90% of the time, but the full, it will write it and then restart the ECUs.
But in doing so, we're going to see flips throughout the.
The lights are going to go full bright.
Yeah.
So the most subtle thing to do is just the partial, and if you configure it, that would write the changes in. But we haven't done anything yet, so you can just hit cancel for now.
Okay.
All right? And then we go to the other areas, same thing. You drag over, and then we do sync and configure, and then that's how we get it to work.
All right. Let's see, where was, now as far as the, like, so they know my exclamation marks here, that's showing that I've had an issue, obviously.
What the exclamation mark means is that, say for example, this is a zone, right? And then in this section here, this is not mapped. See the exclamation mark on this? So this is telling you that something here is not mapped. In some cases, in the actual design, they intended for that to be an ALC, but in the actual field, they may have omitted the actual ALC, and it's not there. So what should have happened is that the person should have cleaned up the drawings by deleting these stuff that's not there. And by deleting them, then it will be just like how you see these ones without the exclamation. That's how it will look. So if you look at these ones, there are two devices here with exclamations. See this and this? That means there was nothing programmed to that space.
Which one of those could be our newer?
Oh, you use the mouse. You're saying you use the mouse so you can see it. So they can see on the, yep. So these ones here, the exclamation is there. Yep.
Yeah.
And the top.
But now we have two of them, which
Yep.
is what I was.
So click on
doing.
one. Double click on that one. That's that one right here.
That's that
Yep.
one. So
Click
this
other
is the one that should have been cleaned up.
Double click on that
so
one
to speak.
and see where it goes. Where is it? Zoom out now. So go and then zoom out
Okay.
on the floor plan and zoom back out. So you see exactly where that one is. So one's there, okay, and the other one's back to the left.
Yeah,
Oh, where is it?
they both may be, because there may be portraits in here looking at the layout of the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's a corridor, it's a common area, so it's a split between this area. So
Are they on one controller or separate controls?
separate controls, but what I'm
Okay.
saying, they both may be portrait lighting, so that's
Got
one
it.
of the things that you'd have to be there when mapping.
Exactly. Yep.
to
See it. See
physically
exactly.
see.
Yep. And then once you map it, then that should go away.
Now, this one right here that we're on.
That's the one I created. Double click
exactly.
on that one. Yeah, yeah.
So this one we know.
You can get rid of that one. So you can get rid of everything right there.
So what would you do? Just click on it?
So go into configure, the top button configure, then structure all the way to the end. You can't see it. One more. Yep, that one. All right. Now zoom out a little bit. All the way out. Stop. Click on the pointer up top. So this pointer over here. Now select. You already got the module selected. Click Control on your keyboard, and then click on the floor plan, the big room. Yep. Then click on the aux sensor in the corner there. That's a switch. That one. Same control. Hold on Control also.
Oh, control.
Yep. Click on the switch. Then click on the aux sensor in the corner.
Where's my?
No, it's fine. Right here. This one.
Oh, that's my
Yep.
aux sensor.
And then click on. You're holding Control.
No, I
keep
didn't.
hand on it.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
All right. Click on the room now. Yep. Click
Alright.
on the module now. Click on the room.
Hold on,
Click
Control.
yeah, keep Control. Then click on this one.
All right.
All right, so you got all selected. Now hit on this little icon right here, edit, and hit on this trash can. And then
Gotcha.
it's all gone. So one more's left. The room is not. Click on the room now. Click on the room. We'll go in. Oh, actually, yep. Click on the trash can. Yep, and hit on the pointer right now. So that's gone. You made some changes, so you have to hit the save button again to save what you did. Okay, now that room 110 is gone.
So, now, out of curiosity,
Floor one. Mhm.
you've got to click on the floor to see. So, just looking at here at a glance, all the exclamation marks.
Mhm. So as I said, sometimes there's something that needs to be cleaned up, right? The module's maybe not there. They probably designed something to be there, but in the field they probably didn't do it, and the person has left the device there. You know what I mean?
So that's we're physically going to have to actually go out there and do this.
Yeah.
The second floor has a couple areas.
Mhm.
All right. You guys want to come up and play with it?
We can play in the field because we're going to program the stuff anyways, right? So
Okay.
I'll let you guys drive in the field.
Anybody got any questions pertaining to
Yep.
anything?
Questions, concerns? Again, with this system, you got to play with it. You just got to get into it, right? Right?
If you like anything else,
Yeah. You got the video to rewatch. So you got to, you know.
That's why I
Hone
want
your
to try to
skills.
recreate scenarios that are actually videotaped. So
Mhm.
I know we're going to do some field work, but
Yep.
to actually do one. It's a problem maybe if we had the drawings, but again, this was part of the construction install, which they should have been responsible for.
Yes, sir. All right, so I guess this pretty much concludes the demonstration, but what we're going to do after now is going to go to the actual field and the modules that have been installed, the new scope, we're going to program that scope. And pretty much programming, you're going to be using the configure mapping mode. And again, in this mode, it gives you the 3 ECUs that we have here. This is an SSU, but it's the 3 ECUs. So one ECU is controlling the 1st and 2nd floor, other one's 3rd and 4th floor, and 5th and 6th. If you open up each ECU, you see the channels, right, and the device count that's on each channel and how many devices are mapped per channel. So the bird's eye view, you can see that this is one device that's not mapped on this channel. Everything's mapped here, everything's mapped here. 2 devices not mapped here, right? So you go to each channel and you can get a bird's eye view as to what is mapped and what's not mapped. Right, 43, 33, one more, 51, right? So you can see directly that some stuff is unmapped.
And also earlier, these currents here are what the actuals are, obviously.
Yes.
But that's only going to show if it's on, correct?
So that's actually
I
a
see.
draw. It's a draw on the channel. So remember, I said that the amount of devices per channel depends on what's on the channel, like the draw.
Which it was 750 per.
That's the capability of the ports, I believe, right?
Mhm.
However, depending on what's happening there, it moves. So if a room, for example, so that's
Flips on.
441, and I turn on a room right now, that jump maybe to 460, depending on how much that current that room is pulling, right?
That's what I'm saying. So this number value here is
Yeah.
constantly going to change.
Change, exactly, based on the surrounding, based on the channel, the activity on that channel.
Real time.
Real time, based on the activity of the channel, correct.
Now, let's say we wanted to capture that. We wanted to know what it was, the max. Basically everything on. We would have to turn everything on. Is there like a shortcut to where we can go to say, all right, I'm considering adding something in this area. What's my max wattage right now of that channel if everything was on?
Let me try something here. I'm not sure. Let me look. So let me click on a report. So click on the Polaris icon. Go to reports. Let me see. Let me see what this is.
Because like, just for instance, we're going to field, go out there in the field right now. There's a few portrait lights. I don't know. Are we at our peak right now to where those may push it over the edge? Or is it going to max us out?
No, it wouldn't. No, yeah, so, like, based on experience
Well,
and
how
rule of
would
thumb,
we know
yeah,
that? Is
it's
what I'm
kind of
saying.
like a rule of thumb thing, because like I would know that the capacity is like 100, but based on the aux sensors, it comes down more. You're like at 40, 50. So you're not, you know what I mean? You're kind of,
Well, I
you
mean,
got room.
without having to run a new channel. Let's say,
Yeah.
you know, we've added. Oh, hold on, where are we at? Let me get a quick view. What's our max outage of that channel right here, right now, if everything was on?
I understand exactly what you mean, right? It's not a simple answer for that.
You'd have to turn everything on.
Yeah, let me see. Look right here. Let me see right here. No, that's just the stats.
You basically have to go to that channel, find every zone, and turn everything on and kick
And then
it
see what
till it's
happens.
full.
Yeah, but it's going to keep changing because remember, if you have they're not harvesting, they're going to start dimming as soon as it sees. Let's do it at nighttime, probably, right? When there's no sunlight.
You would have to do it at night.
There's no sunlight, exactly.
Yeah, obviously I wouldn't have to have people in the building, but
Yep.
I want to go master control everything.
Trigger everything out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that should give you the
That would give you
accurate.
the
Exactly. Yep.
okay.
That's what's happening on that channel.
I mean, granted, I think on all of them I've got at least 2 channels on each ECU, if not 3
That's spares.
as spares. So, but let's say it's all the way at the other end of the building. Sit there and run to map a new channel. I can't map a new channel off of another channel down the line. I actually have to come from the ECU.
No, you can daisy chain because at the end, the last device is also one device plugged in and the other end is
But that's what
open.
I'm saying. Okay, I'm on channel 3,
Uh-huh.
but I'm all the way down the end of the building. Instead of running actually out of the port of the ECU on channel 4 to run clear across the building, you're saying that I can tap off 3 to get
Yeah.
a 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same channel. Yeah, you can just tap off and catch the other devices that are in that vicinity. Yep.
Even though it's already on the channel 3.
Yes. What's going to happen is that when you go to mapping mode, the open channel 3 right here, you'll see the new device number will go from 52 to what 53, 50, 55. So the 3 devices will show up, and they will show up at the end of the channel because it has a thing they call topology. So it kind of knows the order that is in. It's not 100% correct, but for like 78% of the time, devices are somewhat in order. So the device that you put in will show up at the end of the
Yeah,
channel.
that's what I'm saying. But it's going to be on the 3rd back here as the 3rd, or how would I go back to see them all?
The arrow.
Oh, right here.
Top. No, not this one.
Oh,
Next to
this
it.
one.
Yep.
So see, if I add to the last one on this line, it's going to stay in this channel.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. If here I got 7 and 8, I would physically
Have to run from the ECU port
that's
exactly
what I mean.
straight across. Exactly. Yes. Then the
which
number
would
will show up
come
right
to
here.
my previous question, how I would know where my limits were with, let's say channel 3. If I'm knocking on the door, if everything was on, I'm getting to the peak. Rather than be safe, I'd have to run a whole new channel.
This is, let me tell you the rule of thumb, right? The channel, if you have around, I'll say 13 occupancy sensors, you kind of look at it. Let's count on this real quick. So let me open this channel. Let me see how much aux sensors. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right. 18, 19. So this has 19 aux sensors, right? and your number is at 52. So it kind of vary with 100. You know, that's
You're almost-
it's a give and take. You know what I mean?
You're almost at a third.
The give and take.
Almost.
But I'm sure this can handle more devices, a couple more devices.
Well, as a rule of thumb for my notes, I wrote 100 devices as far as straight luminaires,
Yep.
30 OCC.
Mhm.
So, just to give me,
We counted what? 18 we counted here? 18
19
occupants. 19
out of
occupants.
52.
Out of 52.
so at 33, you're at 17, roughly
Yeah.
17 point something. So,
But if you want to be sure, you can just reach out to the rep when they have the factory guys just put it in the calculator and just tell you, right? And they can, you know, if you want to be sure. But based on my experience, if I have like 10 devices, I can put on a channel and I know it'll be fine, right? And again, it has to do with if the issue comes into play is that if the building is like fully loaded, everything's on, right? Because in some cases, someone's going to be on or off. But when it's fully loaded, that's when the devices at the end of the channel are going to start giving some issues.
as an electrician, no, our lighting load is considered at 3 hours full capacity. You should keep it at 80% of that load for a 3-hour time frame.
Got it. Okay.
So that's what I'm looking at as far as I'd want to keep it at 80% on any channel if it was at full capacity. I'm not going to look at it as, okay, this is going to be off, this is going to be,
Got
I've
it.
got to look at everything
Straight.
full, wide
Exactly.
open.
Yeah, it makes sense.
80%.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
So
Makes
that's
a
why I
lot of
was
sense.
asking about the max outs.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
all right.
All right. So, gentlemen, this concludes the physical demonstration here. So the next step will involve actually in the field. So we're going to trigger some modules that have been installed and see what they react, and then we'll program them. And the program is a two-part step. You click the device from the floor plan, right? That's from the mapping menu. That's not programmed. You click it, and for example, you click it and you drag it over into the section where it's controlling. You let it go. When you see that link is formed at the end of the chain, you let it go, right? And then that will form a link. We're not going to do it right now because this is already programmed for that space, but you form a link between both of them, and then you'll save it, and then you configure it, and then it will start working with the space. And it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Once you see it, you'll see it's very simple, right? It's a matter of doing it multiple times, you know, for the whole building. But when you know it once, the same everywhere.
Just so it's on the record, you as an installer, what would you suggest to the end user as far as a technician or somebody? Just going here, what would you do to play with it, so to speak, to keep familiarized with it?
Okay, so one of the modes is to the operate mode is saying this is the mode that you guys use mostly, right? So it's, as simple as it may seem, simply going into the brightness mode, areas turn them off or on, and just dim them up and down, and see how that looks in the software and how it looks in the field. So if you go into space, for example, right, you go into the brightness section, right? There's nobody in this restroom. Is it a restroom, right? Is it a restroom? Yep. You go in here, right, for example, right? You turn it on, right? You see the level that it goes into, and then you can physically drag down the mouse, right? See the color gradient change. You're going to see the actual room changing accordingly, right? You can do all that stuff. Turn off and on, right? Looking at the occupancy sensors here, and you can and telling what's happening. For example, if you turn a room on, for example, you look in the corner right here, it should tell you the time before it turns off. See the time here, time until off, 20 minutes? Because I manually turn the area on, right? If there's oxygen to get triggered, you can click on the room and know how long before the room shuts off, right? For time schedules, depending on what you want, you can actually go into the same operate mode. It turns back off, for example. Operate time schedules. As a matter of fact, you have to create it first. You can create it or reuse a time schedule, but if you want to reuse a time schedule, you can change the settings. So select a schedule, right? You hit the edit events, right? And then you may not want to do it because they had this stuff set already for the dimming a certain timing, but you can, as I did earlier, I created a small schedule here. So for example, for that time, that space would turn on for that 1 hour and then shut back off, right? So I can just test it, make sure that it's happening. And
Just for something for the guys to stay in tune, you know, like I said, you don't use it, you lose it. So for them to come in here and play with just something as simple as going in a room, you know, turning it up, even if they change the increments for is it by minute to minute for the aux sensors?
this time? Okay.
So instead of 20, let's change it to 18.
All right.
Just so they're actually making changes
Yeah,
and going
got
through a
it.
process.
In that setting, you do it into the configure tab. So if I go into configure and structure, one to the far left, right here, structure. If you select, for example, I select the zone, right? And then over here, the extension times, this is 1 minute. What's going to happen is that the actual physical aux sensors has a knob, a timeout, and from the factory, they're set with 10 minutes on the actual hardware timeout, right? So the hardware timeout is 10 minutes, and then the software here is 1 minute. So together, it's 11 minutes for the timeout. So what they can do is they come right here, for example, and change this to a 5. There will be the 5 in software plus a 10 in hardware, 15 minutes. So once they change to a 5, for example, 5, right, and the save button appears, right, then you save it. All right, so saving is just saving it to the SSU. It's not going to be in effect until you configure it. And that applies to everything. So saving it to the server. So in case the company shuts down, 5 minutes will still be in there. Right, it's the first step. So see, click on the zone. It's 5 minutes right here. Right, and then you click on the Polaris icon, configure devices, and then hit ignore that stuff. All the stuff is because some of the extra stuff that's not cleaned up is picking them up like, hey, this is not programmed, this is not programmed, but it may not be there.
But eventually I like to clean that.
Yeah, exactly, right? And hit configure. And partial, 9 out of 10 times you use a partial. If you use a full, the lights are going to come on all the way bright, and the ECUs will restart, which means that once it restarts, you can't do anything. Lights are going to go, it's going to be as if it lost power, for example. It's going to go full bright, right? So 9 out of 10 times the partial is fine the way it is right there, and hit configure. And it's writing the changes back to the ECUs, and then done. So no, that zone that I just did a while ago, that one has a timeout of 15 minutes total. In the back of your head, just know that the hardware timeout is 10 minutes. So click on the zone, the 5 is already there.
So before, when you did that, we had this as here, but it wasn't clicked, so that was a 20 and then a 1.
So the 20 is the manual extension time. Manual meaning if I manually turn it on. So if I turn, this one for example, this one, manually turn it on here, see, 20 minutes. See the manual right here, corner, 20. Let's change this real quick. Let me turn this back off and change it so you can see it manually. So go back here, configure, structure, right? And the manual time here, I put this at 7 minutes, right? 7, and I gotta save.
Okay.
Should I let you do it? See?
So that's only for manual. Got it.
Yeah, so that's the manual, and then hit configure it. No,
Oh.
Yep, it's fine. You can click it. Yep, so configure devices. Yep, configure. Yep, and see, it only shows you the ECU that's affected got showed up right here. Got that change there, that change this is only affecting that ECU. Had I did other stuff that affected other ECUs, those would have been checked also. So it only affected this one, so you can just configure it partially, yep, the way it is. All right, done.
Now what's the difference in the save report and that?
Click on it, press it and see. Never did it before. But I guess there's a log file, I guess,
so
once you save the configuration and stuff, so it's like log, there's actually code, so they can see the steps happening. It's a back-end code. When you click on the save button, the configure, it's the little icon went all the way up, there's kind of writing it in. It's actually putting code back into the ECU. So if you save the log.
I could actually save that code to say I updated on this. Now that would be my latest and greatest though.
No, try it. Put a name, put like test or something.
What was that, restroom?
It's not gonna, I'm not even sure.
It was, let's say, aux sensor test.
Let's
Aux
put something.
sensor.
I don't think it's gonna specifically pull that one. It may pull the whole ECU, but just click on desktop. Let's just look and see what it looks like.
Okay, so
Click save.
there, save it.
All right, let's hit done. Okay, let's minimize this one. What you name it as? This one?
Aux sensor, yeah.
Open that and see. Open this, what it looks like.
That's not our call.
You see? That's all
Okay, so
code.
it's just code.
It's back-end code that is actually configuring the all the action and stuff that it's doing when it's writing the code back in the ECU. So
So that's irrelevant.
it's irrelevant to you, exactly what I was trying to say. All right, so click on,
Alright,
open that back up. Yep, and go to, well, not that one.
oh,
Let's minimize this one right here. Yep, go back into operate now, brightness. All right, so manually, click on this first. Yep, and let's turn it on manually. You can get it on, turn on button. All right, you see the time right here at the bottom? 7 minutes. because that's a manual, right? So there's two timeouts. There's manual, when you manually turn it on and on. This happens, they probably should have set a scene on this.
Now on here where it says a slight low light level will be stored as default for the zone. Next time the zone is turned on, it will be returned to this level. So even though I did the turn on, it's only going up to 40.
Turn it off real quick and turn it back on. Turn it back on now. All right. So in that setting, it has somewhat of a feature in which you can save the light level that you had it on. So I will put it back up to the top. It all depends on how the guy designed it, because usually there's a feature that calls enable scenes, and it will go to a specific 90% level. Make it easier, go all the way up to the top. Easy. Click on the bottom here. Bottom, this up right here. One. Click it again. So it goes in 5% increments. Top, yep, 5% up, 5% again. Yep, so that's fine.
Which I would have put everything at 90 anyway.
Yeah, and then you can click
85 to 90.
Yeah, click off or whatnot. Yep. So that is just a manual timeout, manual time, and the other one will be the arc sensor time, which is the 5 minutes you put here plus the 10 minutes that's already on there. So it's only 15 minutes total timeout in that case.
It's good to know.
Right? Because some cases people see the 1 minute like 1 minute, like no, it's actually 11 because it's 10 hardware and then the software. And that allows you to make your changes from the software knowing that everywhere else is 10 minutes hardware.
Okay. All right, so now we distinguish the difference between those two.
Yeah. And to see it again, it's on configure, structure, and then it's right here on the occupancy behavior. Right. And another feature you can look under the same portion here is this auto turn on. It's auto turn on, which means that what this means is that once you walk in and the sensor sees you, it automatically turns on. If you were to uncheck this button here, uncheck that, save and configure, yeah, exactly. You walk in, it's not going to turn on for you automatically.
Disable it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Put that back on. Put it back on and then save. Let me put this back on. Put the time back to what was it? Was it
Well, that was
1 minute?
20.
No, no. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
1 and
yeah,
20.
120. So
The
you can,
extension was the 1 and then
you
20.
can do it. 20 minutes and then
20
1.
And then the extension was 1, so it was actually 11 minutes.
Exactly. And then
Which-
save and configure.
Which standard are, most dock sensors standard 12 to 15 minutes default
Yeah.
anyway from
Mhm.
factory.
Yep. And then configure. So like stuff like that, you'll see what will happen, right? With the auto turn on. But in this room, for example, there's no switch in that room. So if you uncheck the auto turn on,
Yeah, they're gonna stay on.
they're going to stay in the dark because there's no switch to manually turn it on. Exactly. All right, let's hit done again. Same deal. And yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. Everything you do for it to work, you have to first save it first and then configure it. Because the configuration gives the ECU the information so it knows. That's how it knows what room and what's linked to what room, etc. Right? And if you look at that sensor at the bottom there, as an exclamation mark, this one right here.
Mhm.
So this sensor here has been programmed. There's no exclamation mark, right? This one is either it's not there, they probably removed it from site, or it's not connected, and we can find it out when we get there, right? Maybe it's a change in design scope, and they probably put 1 there instead of 2, but ideally there should be no exclamation marks. Put it that way.
Yep. All right, I'm good as far as
Cool.
questions.
All right, any other questions, gentlemen? Nope. All right, so here conclude the presentation of the Incellium training, and then we'll be heading to the field to do these adders that were done over the winter break. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
All right, I guess we're round 2 here for the programming of some devices that were recently installed over the winter break. We're in the GHS building. Right now, the first floor seating area outside classroom 109. It's the far south of the building. Programming some of these new portrait lights. These are the directional cans up above for the paintings.
Okay, so if you pan around here to the computer, we're going to go into what we call the mapping mode into configuration. So we're going to click on configure, mapping. Then you're going to expand the ECU number 1 to the right side, right here. Open it up, the arrow right by the side. All right, let's zoom into the space here. You can double click on that space, zoom to it, click on any device to get a reference point. It's purple, so it's going to open the purple channel, which is channel number 4. And then you scroll to the LCM that's shown right. Where is it? The on one is unmapped. Is it this? Yep. And click on the wink button up top there. Okay. And as you wink, you look up on, you see the lights here flashing as it winks it. It dims. All right, hold on. We're going to come bright. Okay. Wink it one more time so the camera can see. The lights are flashing, off, on, and then dim. Dim, and then it's going to come full bright when it goes back up. So the process, back on the computer, so the process of winking, all you're doing, you're activating the device. If you look at the devices, there's some here that's already programmed, and these ones that are grayed out, like this LCM here, is not programmed. So right now, we're going to assign that module to the floor plan. So the one that's on the floor plan, click on the hand for a second, just move over, click and move over a little bit. All right. We can utilize this device here, and then we're going to move it over. So click on this device, click and hold, and drag it over into that spot right here onto that device. Once the link is formed, go again.
Oh.
Once the link is formed, that's when you let it go. There you go, let it go. I'm going to ask you, are you sure you want to combine these 2 items? Yes. All right. Now you linked it. Now hit the save button. All right. So this is saving it to the SSU server. Right. So now it's saved to the server, but it's not going to work yet. For it to work, we have to configure it. All right. So once it comes up, we're going to configure the device. Go ahead and configure. Polaris icon, then configure devices. And hit configure at the bottom there. And partial is fine. Hit configure. All right, hit done. So once this comes up, we're going to test the zone. Right, we're going to turn the lights off in the area and see if those devices react. So we're going to operate mode, the top, brightness. All right, now we're going to click on the zone, anywhere on the zone, and hit turn off. Right? Now, you notice it didn't go completely off because there's an off state brightness set at 20%, but we can override it and check it out per se, right? So turn that back on. Okay, click on the actual device over here that we programmed a while ago, the actual device. Click on configure at the top, structure. Right. So if you look right here, you see it says off state brightness, 20%. So that's why it doesn't go off. And every device you click on, you'll see that this device here, off state. Usually the off state is 0. That means when you turn it off, it should go off. But in this case, it's 20%, right? And that's the level.
We're gonna adjust the max to 90.
Hold on, before you do that.
Okay.
So just to verify what's going on. So click on operate, brightness. Click anywhere on the zone, right? If you look here, it's default at 90%. So once it gets configured, it goes to default 90%. Yep. And the various scene levels, they've hit on 60%, it dims to 60 and 30%, 30 and 20%. You can see the room temperature changing as you go through. All right? And those are the scenes that are recalled throughout the day as different levels. Okay? So hit the default level again, it goes back. So when you configure the system, automatically it task tunes it to 90%. All right, so you're saving 10% task tuning just by taking the system live. All right, so that's all you got to do to program that spot. All right, so we got that part cleared out.
All right, now we want to open this back up. Where am I not getting it?
What are you trying to see?
The sidebar. Let me close this.
You got to go to configure.
That's right, back.
Mapping.
Mapping.
And then it's over here.
All right, so we're going, that was first floor ECU.
Okay. So you can look at the counts, right? So you see how many devices and how many are mapped. These should match. If they don't match, then that means there is something not mapped. So this one here is 3031, so one is not mapped. So if you open that ECU by clicking on the arrow to the side, and then scroll through right there. And as for where that is, we don't know where it is, so this is what we're going to do. Click on any device that's in the area. Over that side, it highlights that. Click on the zone, which is the zone right here. Double click on it.
Oh, that's the men's restroom.
Go to a different level.
Second floor men's restroom area.
All right, use your mouse and scroll out a little bit. Go on the floor plan, scroll out, out, yep. And now click on something else again in the air, just kind of an idea. So this, click on that hand right now and kind of pull it to that side, perfect, right? So this module that's here, that's not programmed, it's somewhere in that vicinity because it's between that switch and click on this aux sensor. And here, so it's somewhere in this region, maybe in the corridor. We don't know until we get there. So we got to go up there also and do the same thing. Trigger the devices, select the device, wink it, see what happens, and then we program it.
Okay.
Cool? All right.
All right, we're here on the 3rd floor outside the elevator lobby for the portrait photo addition to tie into the Encelium system here. Now we'll have to install them.
Okay. So if you come over to the first step we're going to be adding a component. Because right now the area is right here and there's no fixture template there. So we're going to use a template from our template library and put it there. So I'm going to scroll to the generic one. So the ones that is already there, so it says fix. Double click on that one. So your mouse it's on your mouse now, so go to that space. Just drop it one click. Good. It's still on your mouse, so you got to deselect it by hitting on the pointer. Good, right? So right now, if you click on the zone itself, anything that turns into green, that means they're linked to the zone. If you look right here, if you scroll down on this side, everything here belongs to this zone. So occupancy sensors, and then you have 1, 2, 3 fixture modules. You see 2 fixtures are already programmed, and the one here that has the exclamation is the one that we added. So if you click on the exclamation one, you see this one gets highlighted. Once it's programmed, the exclamation will go away from the fixture and also from the zone. So this next step, now we're going to go into the mapping mode. So go to configure, mapping, and then right now the ECUs are collapsed. They're closed up, right? So you don't know where you are. So the best way to do, click on a device that's in the vicinity. So we know that the green one, click something on the green, and the channel opens up for the channel 3. So you got to scroll down until you find the device that needs to be mapped. You find it and you wink it. Once you wink button, and you look on the space and you see the lights flashing. Off, on, and it's going to dim, and it's going to come back up, right? So the winking process is a process of triggering the device so you can visually see what it is, right? The plan. You've identified it, so you got to go back to that device, click and hold, and drag it over to your floor, to template on the floor plan. Link is formed, let it go. Are you sure you want to combine these? Yes. Next step, save. Yes, this is the SSU. And for it to actually work, you have to configure it so that the ECU knows what it is and where it is on the building and have it react with the rest of the zone. So once it's saved to the SSU, you have to configure it for it to actually work. Hit configure, and 9 out of 10 times partial works. Done. So it's saved, so we can test it by going into the operate brightness mode once it comes up. Operate brightness. Right? Right now it's off. So select the device. Select it. Hit turn off. Off. Press on again. Right? Brings it back up. Right? So now you can individually trigger devices just like we just did a while ago. So you can select another device, another template right here, and turn that one off and on. See what it does?
It's around the corner. I can't
Corner?
see it.
Yep, turn that back on. That's fine. And then going back to the other one, if you want to do the whole zone, actually you want to do the whole zone to test it, we can turn it off. The whole zone, it will dim if you want to test it right now. Okay? And it dims. So this one here, it went off. If you realize everything else dimmed to 20%, because we just added this one, we did not add the 20% feature for it to turn off, right? So we'll turn it back on, right? Select the module we just added a while ago. This one, yep. Go into configure, structure, and in the properties section over here, there's a turn off delay. Look where you see turn off delay. Turn off state brightness, I'm sorry. Put that to 20. It means that 20% is the off state. So it won't go off completely. It will go to 20% in its off state, right? Again, you put something else. You know what you have to do?
Yeah. Convert forced override brightness.
Yep. So.
Save.
Mhm. Perfect. And then you can test it again by going into the operate brightness mode, and you can turn the zone off, and then you notice that it will not go off completely. It will dim to 20% like everything else in the zone. Proper mode, operate, brightness. Then click the zone, yep, off. Notice it's now dim, it's not off. So you've successfully programmed the section. So you can turn it back on, and then it will react like everywhere else in the zone. So here concludes the programming of this section on the 3rd floor.
3rd floor lobby portrait complete.
Okay, so in this section here, we're going to go about creating a fixture template. In the previous recording, we just created a generic fixture template, and we just added it on the floor plan. But for actual purpose of having a proper wattage, we're actually going to go to the process of actually creating a fixture template. So you went into configure structure, which you already did, and then you hit on component library, then you hit on fixture, right? You already did all that stuff. So next step is to click on the add button, top, and then hit on fixture, and then we're going to create the fixture. So give it the name right there, fixture type, but it has to be M2-1, 5 space. We're going to say times 2 because there's 2 of them, right? It's 1, 2.
2, 5.
Multiply by 2, right? We do M times 2 because it's 2 of those fixtures. So if an M25 is 10 watts, then the template would be for 20 watts because it would be 2 of them, right? So the dimensions, let's put, so this is big enough so we can get programmed. 1 by 1 that should be fine at 1 by 1, but if you want, you could be like 2 by 1. 2, yeah, no, 25. You gotta put the which is for the foot. This one for foot.
Inch.
That's gonna be small.
It doesn't do it the way I got you. Hold on. It's just got to be. No, see, it should be 2.5 inch.
But the thing is, that it's gonna be really small. So put it this way.
Which is 2. That's 0 foot, 2 inch.
All right, let's do it. All right, what you want to do for
Diameter.
this one? All right, let's try this then.
By 3 inch. Let's say 4 inch.
Okay. Okay. So next tab here is a fixture/ballast. So once you figure out what the wattage is for one, multiply it by 2, and put it here and here.
Which
is the
default, we're
baseline.
gonna leave it as 60 for now.
Because the baseline, that's assuming that what was there before was that, and then what you have now should be a more energy efficient model. So it also takes that into consideration into the model, right? In some cases when they don't, like for new buildings, they have this, the both baseline and the two being the same, right? And then you can just leave this at 0 the way it is, right? So hit create.
Actually, and that's not correct either. Oh, they only have 2 tips.
That part doesn't really make
It's
a difference.
definitely not a 6500 though.
Yeah. So hit create, and there you go, right there, right? So if you, so
Yeah.
in this case, we already, what you would have done originally, you double click on it the same way, and put it to your floor plan here, and just click click anywhere right here. For a second, let me show you. Click anywhere, right? You see how small it is? Now click on the arrow right now to kind of deselect that point. Look how small it is. So you got to zoom into it now, which is why you had it at a 1 by 1. It would have been, it's not necessarily that it's small. It's
I thought
for
it was the size of the fixture. It's the size of
the
the.
template on the floor
Template,
plan.
gotcha.
That's why I wanted you to do it so you can see what I was talking about.
I understand.
All right.
Gotcha.
So now change it. Just hit on the, go back, hit the pencil, go back to edit, and then click change those back now. So put it to 1 foot by 1. So 1 dash. Yep. Same thing for that one. One dash. Get rid of the stuff in there. Okay. Now hit save. And there it is. You see? It's easier for you to map, right? So now you put it here, but we're going to get rid of it. This is why we're going to get rid of it. Select it. Hit on the edit button. Yep. And hit garbage. Had we not done it before, this is how we would have added it. But since it's already there, so now we have the edit button. So you got to deselect it. You're going to select the pointer. So this is what we're going to do right now. Select that device. Now go to properties. This one up top here. And then where it says template, you had fixed, drop down, and look for the one you just created. Is it M? Is it M?
Right there.
I'm still selected. Now it swapped it. It doesn't look because it's the same dimension. So if had it been a different dimension, you'd have seen it changed.
Now on that, do we have to
Save and configure.
Save and configure.
Yeah. You're getting ready. Save and configure. So by doing that, you make sure that it saves to the server and then configuration, make sure that it actually works. Right? Polaris icon. So once you get the actual wattage information, you just go back to that template. And once it loads up, it'll show you how to go back to it again. And just enter the information in again, and you save and configure it again. So same thing, you're in configures, you're already there. Okay, perfect.
Component library.
Nope, hit on the fixture, 1 second. So that's a zone, next one to it is a fixture.
Oh, fixture, that's right.
Then
And then
scroll to where it is. If you find it, you go to the pencil for edit. And then you go, where else you go right now? To put the fixture wattage in. Where do you go?
it should be Fixture Ballast.
Yes, sir. And then you drop it in.
Save,
You
cancel.
got to put the fixture wattage in here.
Yeah,
Once
we
you get it,
don't know.
yeah, once you get it later on, and then and you hit save, and then once you save it, it's going to give you the option to save, save and configure, and then that's it.
All right.
All right, and that concludes the section on create a fixture template and adding it to the floor plan. Okay, so in this section, you created the actual template, fixture template, but we're going to go a step further into showing you how you can actually name the templates so it makes sense to you on the floor plan. So if you go and you select the actual fixture template, on the floor plan, it just gives you a generic fixture, right? Everything is going to give you a generic fixture. So if you should go to the properties section of that right now, and where you see it says fixture, this whole thing here, erase all of that stuff. Select it and hit delete, and give it a name. So what kind of painting is this? You can give it a name so you know what it is.
The beauty of wisdom.
So beauty of wisdom lighting or something. All right. So if you select anywhere outside, anywhere, yep, and select it back again, you'll see there's a name associated to it. So if anybody comes after you and they select the fixture here and highlights this, they know that this here is for the beauty of wisdom lighting section. And then same thing, save and configure. And the same is true for everything, but generally speaking, they just leave that fixture generically. But for your purposes and to go and to do maintenance and whatnot, it makes sense for you to know what it is, right? And this portion concludes changing the name of the fixture so that it makes sense to you when you look at it. All right, so in this section here, what we're going to do, we've located a module that was previously installed in a fixture here that was removed from the scope, but the module is still there. So what we're going to do, we're going to create, put a fire alarm template, and that's just pretty much, sometimes we use that as a marker for us to know that there's something going on so that we can come back to it later on. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a fire alarm template and drop it there. So if you click on configure, you can click on either fire alarm or structure, doesn't really matter which one. All right, hit on component library and double click on fire alarm at the bottom and bring it to your space where you want to put it and drop it right there. right? It's still on your mouse, so go to deselect it. Gotta get the pointer. Now hit on properties, and then right in the section right here, just give it, type what you want to type it. Give it a spare or something, so you know what it is.
ALC
LCM, it looks like.
or LCM.
LCM, yeah. Spare LCM, okay. And then that's just putting a note there. So when you look at the floor plan, you see any fire alarms, there's usually notes that mean that something is going on. You're going to revisit. So this is a quick step for you to add an actual fire alarm, not necessarily as a fire alarm, but just a note-taking method. You put it there, and then you just got to hit the save and configure again.
Let's see, close that.
You don't need to configure at this point. You can save it because you're not really sending any instruction to the ECU. You're just making a note that something is there. So saving is fine for now, for that.
See that delay alarm.
So you can look and see the notes that are showing up to the side. That's the one you just created a while ago, Spear LCM.
Mirror lights.
Okay. And that concludes just creating a fire alarm template. You're using a fire alarm template as a note-taking method, so you can just know that something is there to be checked later on. Okay.